Glitch Paradox is unfiltered. Parental discretion is strongly advised.
RPGs on the beat. Flying saucers.
Glitch Paradox. Glitch Paradox.
Our minds should be open on all subjects.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the Glitch Paradox podcast. I'm your host, the Big Man Big Rich, alongside Mad Squirrel. We're gonna get into a little bit of some stuff dealing with food shortages. Gonna talk about some prepping and all the other crazy stuff related to it. This is something we touched on for several podcasts. Tongue twisting. Yeah. Yeah, several podcasts we've talked about it, but now it's at a point to where it's becoming more and more visible.
Yeah.
You know, it's it's hard for me to say much because out here, well, at least where I'm at, I haven't seen nothing crazy hit yet. But then again, I'm always the type to be kind of prepared before anything goes down anyway.
Right.
So for me, I always look at it as, well, as long as I'm prepared, I don't really have to panic much. You're pretty much the same way. Um, and it's just to that point that a lot of people who didn't prep or kind of turned a blind eye, kind of ignored all of that,
Yeah.
they're gonna get hit the worst. And I think it's a lot, I don't want to say it's because people are dumb or anything like that, but truth,
Blissfully
yeah,
ignorant.
but
Yeah.
truth be told, a lot of people won't move until they see it on the TV,
Mm-hmm.
and we were just talking about this. You could tell someone till they're blue in the face, um, or till you're blue in the face, and they just won't budge, but let Fox or CNN or MSN, whatever, come on and say, yeah, there's a food shortage going on or whatever. This
Yeah.
is nothing new. Um,
You
it's
know,
it,
it's
I'm sorry, go
sad.
ahead.
No, I was saying it's sad. All of this is quite sad because it's we've been talking about the prepping. I know that some people think it's alarmist, but it really isn't because all of
Mm-mm.
the warning signs have been sitting here out in the open since last year.
Yeah.
And the problem is they're listening to they're expecting mainstream media to come right out and say, hey guys, proactively keep that in mind. We have to understand about media is that they're reactive.
Yeah.
Okay. They are not proactive. So if anything you take away when you turn on any mainstream source, they are going to be reactive, not
Hmm.
proactive.
Yep.
So that means if anything, if they're telling you something right before it hits, then that should be a red flag to you. So people are already seeing shortages in their local stores. So we've been
Hmm.
seeing this for months. The problem is we saw the stories, which we are going to share, stuff
Yeah.
we talked about, but also new stuff that's come out within, the last 2 to 3 weeks. Some throwback articles too, but talking about preparation, why it's important, but also keeping it on your local stores. It's important to be in touch with communities, that you can share information. I mean, me and Rich are part of a community we have set up.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a huge one, but it's significant enough where we're covering different parts of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And, we have people we're talking to on the side that are, because I've helped people locate items. That's one thing that we all do. So if somebody can't get a hold of, let's say, of a specific medication that's over the counter, I can look here for it. And I've been able to, mail stuff to people. They've mailed stuff to me last year and this year. Masks, getting people masks if they need them, even if it's just something to supplement what they already have. Extra is always better because you're going to use it. Who gives a shit?
Mm-hmm.
It's about being proactive, not reactive. And so when you have panic buying and things like that in stores right now, it is reaction.
Yes. Um, the thing with me is that we got a glimpse of this last year.
Oh yeah.
And you've seen how everybody acted. They acted
Oh
a fool when this went down.
yeah.
Now, and I'm gonna show you a clip, quick
Yeah.
clip, real quick. This dude I follow on Instagram, his name is Immortal Zen, and he posted some knowledge stuff, but he talks a little bit about it in
Sure.
this little quick clip. So I'm gonna share it here, and you know, oops, let me get my mind right because I am pressing wrong buttons.
Big
Oh,
Rich has dealt with some mind fog this week. It's called the small what do you call it? I don't know. What do you refer to your small ones? Your
the girls.
yeah.
Yeah, they teenage
Well,
girls, boy.
that's the teens, if you will, in
Yeah,
his life. He's had a very busy week, so he's got a little bit of that brain fog.
yeah,
I can tell when Rich has had one of those weeks.
They're like, oh, Rich, man, they getting on you, huh? I mean, nah, I mean, it's nothing crazy. It's just
No.
if you have teenage daughters, you know, it's
Mhm. Mhm.
it's a lot. But all right, so let me make sure I got this. Share the audio. Make sure I click that.
Boom.
All
First.
right.
Yeah, okay.
happen, but I just can't put my
All right, so let me put it back up here
something
for you.
big around the world is about to happen, but I just can't put my finger on it. First of all, the government is paying farmers to destroy crops and kill animals. I've been seeing multiple videos like this.
Growing corn told us that the government was paying farmers to destroy their crops, and he was right. Just got a letter in the mail.
As well as videos of people spilling out their oil. So no food and no transportation. This can literally lead to a purge.
So
Oh, mine.
now
Oh,
this
my.
ain't when I first seen that video. I think it was like a month or so ago.
Mhm.
Um, that's when I just was finding out about farmers receiving letters
Mhm.
from the government telling them to destroy their crops and they'll get paid for it.
Correct.
and
Yep.
and people are like, well, why would they do that? You know, unfortunately there's a sinister goal behind that. And what better way to have a food shortage than to cut off the supply? Hey, we'll go ahead and pay you if
Right.
destroy your crops, and it's just
Now
going to
there.
raise up the price. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going
Oh,
to say it's just going to raise up the price, and when you go to the grocery store, start seeing prices go up and up and up. It really makes you think about that. It's pretty crazy.
and the reasoning behind it was supposedly the distribution issues, meaning
Hmm.
they weren't able to get trucks out to these locations to actually distribute the food and products out to wherever distributor suppliers that they were supposed to be maintaining. That was the reasoning for it, which still doesn't make much sense. Um, it's kind of strange. All of this is very weird to me. I don't know how to put my finger on it, but it's just weird.
Hmm.
And I just it, like you said, it doesn't mesh very well. But here, alas, here we are having that conversation, right? And
Yeah, yeah, and now I've seen so many different videos from truck drivers, and of course you've shared some stuff where people are going into the store and there's certain aisles, and then another thing, to talk about. I should have kept letting that clip play, because also in that clip were footage of Walmart all of a sudden having aisles or sections with emergency supply food.
Correct. Yeah. And
Now you're seeing these stores that start like piling up on it. It's like, wait a minute, why all of a sudden are you selling all this emergency? Now, granted, like I first seen it in Costco. Well, I take that back. Winco is a store out here that has it, but they've always had it. But like
correct.
I seen when I went into Costco one day, they had a whole section right out front, big old, buckets. And now
Dude,
Walmart is doing it too.
see that I saw the video and the pictures of these emergency supplies, like the middle aisle where they have kind of like their quote bulk items, whether that's cereal or
Yeah.
maybe it's next to the seasonal aisle, or sometimes it shares the seasonal aisle in
Hmm.
Walmart. They had the emergency supply kits there as well, the same kits that preppers typically get, especially if
Yep.
you live in areas. We would get those when we had blizzard seasons in New Mexico, or now that we live more towards the coast where the Gulf is, we have emergency buckets we get every so many years after we've used them, or it hit expiration, which those things last a long time. But that somebody brought up exactly that point that you're making right now, and that Zen was probably making in his video there,
Yeah.
is that they know that this is coming. They are aware of the food shortages. A lot of grocery stores are aware of this food shortage coming. They're not allowed to discuss that
Exactly.
openly yet. But if you were to talk to people, and I've known people who have, so this isn't like secondhand information,
Hmm.
and I've heard it myself from people who work in different grocery store chains, large and
Yeah.
small,
Yeah.
that
And I
this
know.
is an issue. This is a known coming issue,
Yeah. And I know you're gonna get into this article real quick, but the reason why I
Go for it.
wanted to cut in real quick is because a friend of mine had an article, and I wish I would have went and got it, but it was a farmer in Idaho where they showed a picture of just a long stretch of potatoes dumped. They
Mm.
were told, and they were like, telling people just come get them because the government told them to get rid of them. And they had just a long line of just potatoes that were grown
I hate the
that
fact of waste of food, man.
yeah, yeah. And now and imagine you're getting the letters from the government like, "Yay, we'll pay you. Go ahead." Like, there's
Ooh,
something, and we said this in previous episodes. Something's about to go down. Something's
correct.
about to go down, and we can't quite put our finger on it yet. But it's just very interesting that all of a sudden now you have the stores stop putting emergency food on their shelves now for people to buy. You're having farmers getting paid to get rid of their crops. Um, Now you're talking about, now I know there was truckers were planning on doing a protest and not there was something about them not driving one day or something like that. I got to go back and look, but you're seeing more and more now these stores where people are going in and their sections just gone,
Hmm.
you know, and they'll say it's a delay in the supply chain and everything like that. But this is, something's about to happen, and we've been saying this multiple times. I don't know how many podcasts we've done where we've been talking about prepping and making sure you're good to go for when stuff hits the fan. And it just, I hate to, I wonder if we could go back, right, from like our very first podcast until now, and if we could go in and count how many times we talked about something that came to fruition. um I wonder what our record would be,
Hmm.
because there's I mean, and it's not like we're like, yes, we're right, yay, no, nothing like that. It's just that this is stuff that we kind of foreseen
Right.
gonna go down, and we were like hoping it wasn't when it happened, but
And
when it does, you're kind of like, wow.
exactly. I think one of the things, after I just want to touch on this really quick, this article here, but also elaborate about the government thing. right, about the
Mhm.
crops. Because do I think that there's something obviously wrong with destroying any forms of food in bulk like that? Yes, absolutely. But there is a reason for it, and it is stupid government bullshit. So, just for clarification, it is bullshit with the government, but it's how they control farming.
Mhm.
That's the issue. Do I think there's more? Either way, yes, absolutely. Something smells in Denmark, kind of thing, right? But
Mhm.
here is an article about the Idaho. It says Idaho potato growers. This is from U.S. News. Idaho potato growers brace for poor crop amid drought and heat, and they had a harsh crop year. And then it's not just potato growers, but it's others like wheat and things like that.
Mhm.
But anyway, says the hot, and this is from Associated Press. This is republished with the U.S. News and World Report. The hot, dry, and smoky growing season has left Idaho potato farmers bracing for a poor crop. This is published August 25th of 2021. Um, the hot and dry, smoky growing season has left Idaho potato farmers bracing for a poor crop. Randy Hardy of Oakley told the Idaho State Journal that his harvest will likely be the worst of his career. Statewide, spud farmers conducting test digs or early harvest are uprooting plants supporting no tubers. Where there are potatoes, there are fewer than normal, and most of the tubers are undersized and misshapen. I've never had this happen before. I've got an agronomist who works with me on potatoes, and he's been doing it for over 20 years, and he said he's never seen a worse crop than this, said Hardy, who serves as chairman of the board of the Sun Valley Potatoes. So it's a big mess when it comes to the crops in general. This just kind of goes down to it. But it says United Potato Growers of Idaho are asked growers to submit their results on August 1st test dig, and will gather follow-up data in person during the harvest. Hardy said the average number of tubers and the test digs were down 30% from last year. Weight was also down substantially, he said. Many fields lack deep soil moisture where the potatoes were planted. Then the state was hit with record high heat in June, contributing to fewer potatoes growing beneath each plant. Hardy believes the smoke-filled air from western wildfires also harm plants by impeding the stage of growth where each potato adds its bulk. Farmers are left with fewer and smaller potatoes. So that's just one example, but I know that wheat is the other one. One of the things I did want to address, just as a preventative discussion point here, is that it isn't so much that you see a lot of these where people are saying the government isn't paying farmers to destroy their crops. Now, this is an interesting take because a lot of the articles are claiming the same thing. No, that isn't true. They're not getting paid to do that. But you'll see how technically they are. It's just in a different explanation. The article goes on to say, this is from AG Daily, written by Amanda Zexley. I apologize, I slaughtered her name, but she is the farmer's daughter, USA.com. Anyway, it says myths about food and agriculture seem to be closely resemble the legendary Hydra. Hercules heroically faced the multi-headed water serpent in Greek mythology, and every time Hercules cut off one of its head, the Hydra would go back two more. So it seems that every time we rebuke misinformation about modern farming, another true grow in its place. Unfortunately, it seems like farmers were the culprit this time. Multiple farmers posted TikTok videos claiming that they received their notice to destroy crops from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Some even posted videos of themselves mowing over soybeans or destroying corn stalks. It didn't take long for the videos to go viral and lose the just kidding context. It's categorically false. The USDA told Snopes, which of course we can all trust Snopes, that no farmers are getting paid to destroy their crops, nor would the USDA ever make such a demand. They probably don't have the authority to do that anyway unless the food is somehow contaminated or poisoned. Instead, the USDA often purchases produce and other food for its nutritional programs. Just this week, the USDA announced a major buy of fresh grapes for distribution and food assistance programs. Earlier this year, the department revealed it would purchase $159.4 million worth of seafood, legumes, uh, fruits, and nuts to address food insecurity caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. And that makes sense. The USDA doesn't destroy crops, it purchases the food to give those in need. So why is something like this so believable? Believe it or not, there's a way to form a logical conclusion from this. Early in the pandemic, food supply chains were disrupted with farms suddenly losing their customer bases, such as schools, restaurants, and event centers. and some farms were forced to throw away and dispose of their products and also kill cattle. But the USDA has nothing to do with it. It was about the market. There's another reason. It actually happened once upon a time. The Great Depression also disrupted supply chains, and farmers were stuck with excess goods they couldn't sell. Prices nosedive when markets flooding the supply. Along with other nations, the U.S. tried to fix the problem by enacting the Agricultural Adjustment Act of 1933. Under the act, the federal government paid farmers not to plant fields and even purchased farm goods only to destroy them. But these measures didn't work, the market didn't correct course, and it quickly became apparent that such a program was ill-suited for the moment. Unemployed Americans were starving or malnourished while the government was forcing good food to go to waste. By the fall of 1933, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt released $75 million to purchase food and redistribute it in the starving masses. Although the AAA's approach didn't last long, the problem was it was cemented in America's consciousness. So even today, people think the USDA would destroy food before giving it to those in need. In the modern era, the only government program that allows farmers to get paid without farming is the Conservation Reserve Program, the CRP. President Ronald Reagan signed the CRP into law in 1985. It incentivizes farmers to leave some fields untouched for environmental purposes. President Joe Biden has encouraged farmers to take advantage of it as we look for ways to fight climate change. Okay. It's hardly an avenue to easy street though, and it's probably underutilized. And a conservation program is much different than an edict requiring farmers to destroy growing crops. So for the record, no, the USDA isn't paying farmers to destroy their crops. So okay, she doesn't elaborate on a couple points. In order to get funding for their agricultural programs, once again, it's about supply. So sometimes they won't be paid unless they're farming. And in some cases, that's kind of what happens with their subsidies that are given to farmers. And in other cases, um, if you don't have the supply chain, like there's not enough distribution, they start pretty much destroying their products so they can continue farming because they're not going to be able to harvest it properly. So in the end, farmers have always taken a hit for something. I think they're just accustomed to being abused. That's really what it is. That's a horrible thing to say, but it's true. So yeah, there's that. So I just wanted to add
Wow.
on to that. But I do think that there is something to be said about how much the agricultural community has been bullied by the USDA and the federal government over the decades and years. Um, do I think that they have their head up their ass right now in general? I kind of do. But I also believe it's about the farmers taking the individual initiatives that they can to distribute. If they want to stay afloat, they need those subsidies. That's the codependency issue. Yeah.
Hmm. Very interesting. I
Yeah.
mean, nevertheless, the whole situation itself is pretty
Gee.
crazy. Yeah, and and this is we're not on this podcast to bash people who ain't prepping or haven't really thought about it because everybody has a different situation going on in their life, and sometimes prepping is not on their agenda. You know,
No.
so we get it.
Mhm.
But I, with this going on, I would hope that people would take it more seriously this time around compared to,
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, you know, before where a lot of people wasn't expecting it to happen, but it happened. And who knows, like with the rising cost and everything, who knows how bad this could get go if it goes down again the second time around. Um,
Right. There's
now, oh,
I'm
I'm
sorry,
sorry.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
There was one other thing I wanted to mention because Vietnam is going under lockdown right now. Actually,
Yeah.
it went under lockdown a couple weeks ago, and
Hmm.
now they were kind of under like not an extreme lockdown, but they were on limited. They had kind of like, what do you want to call it? A staggered type lockdown where it
Hmm.
wasn't necessarily like a big, you're not allowed on the streets kind of thing. Now they have it under, you're not allowed under the streets. You're pretty much locked down at home
Oh
because of
wow.
Delta. And that's going to affect at least one big industry. I mean, there's other things, of course. We're all part of the same, whether we like it or not, unfortunately. We're all under the same kind of family when it
Hmm.
comes to stuff. But this is an article really quick from September 4th of this month. This is the scary bug. I don't want to use the word, I don't know, the COVID word, because apparently that's an issue. I don't know, YouTube. Make up your mind if we're allowed to talk about anything, you bastards. Anyway, so this bug threatens to cause a global coffee shortage as the major export hub goes into lockdown. This is from Business Insider.
Oh wow.
Vietnam's measures are dwindling exports of coffee to the rest of the world. Brazil, another major exporter, has struggled with both drought and frost, damaging their coffee harvest. The world is now facing a potential for a major coffee shortage. So the article goes on to just explain how um, I do not want to slaughter that name, so I apologize to Vietnam. I'm an ignorant
Um,
American.
Ho Chi Minh City. Ho Chi Minh City.
That sounds good. Yay!
Yeah.
That Rich probably got it right.
Well, I just because my brother his fiance is Vietnamese, so I try
Oh,
my best.
helpful.
Yeah.
She could start doing our pronunciations for us.
Yeah. Exactly.
She's like, "You ignorant Americans.
How dare you?
How dare you?"
Yeah.
Um, but the Ho Chi Minh City, which includes a port and is a large exporting hub, has been locked down to control the aggressive Delta variant. As a result, exporters are now finding it much harder to transport coffee beans to ports to enable global distribution, with prices soaring and shipment delays ever threatening, according to Bloomberg. So, just one of those another shortages, something we don't think about, but is a global distribution, port. So when you think about where we're getting items and things that you're going to see on the shelves that are going to be reduced, or changed, let's say you're as far as what products you're going to see on a shelf, you might start seeing products coming from Mexico or other places, maybe in the US or in other countries that are able to export properly. So supply chains are definitely getting screwier and screwier. And we're only in September. The lockdown in Vietnam, technically, I think, geez, was it last week or the week before? It might have been 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah. I think you're right.
So I don't know if they're going to come out of their 3 to 4 week lockdown or if they're going to remain in it. Not sure. But anyway, I just thought I would bring that up though, because I thought it was very interesting.
Yeah. Coffee. I mean, I'm not a big coffee person, but and Nina definitely is. She needs her coffee.
Hmm.
So I could definitely. Yeah. I don't want her going crazy without coffee. But yeah.
Oh my.
I'm only a coffee drinker if I really need to,
Right.
you
I like my
know.
coffee in, I don't know, increments. I can't tell you the last time I had coffee, but you know,
Yeah,
it's
same
one of
here.
those
Like,
things. It's nice to have it. Of course, it's a
yeah,
comfort thing. For
yeah,
some people, it's a mandatory life,
yeah.
you know.
They can't function without coffee. That's
Yeah,
how she is. You don't give
yeah.
her coffee, she's gonna be grumpy and grouchy.
There's a lot of that. So it's like, oh, I get it. I do. I used to be really like a big coffee fanatic, and eh, yeah, things happen. But
Yeah,
hmm, but yeah,
I guess.
the crops and things like that definitely uh one of those big things that we're seeing. The other thing too is that there's a lot of different shortages that you're seeing that now, oh geez, there's so many different things to run with this topic really, because there's
Hmm.
so much going on.
Yeah,
um let's see if I can read this article. I'm going to get pop-ups on this, but
that's all good.
it at the very least, let me see if I can, screw it, I'm just going to use this. Okay, I hate it when you get a link and no matter what, I could get it somewhere else, but I'd rather go to the source.
Yeah,
So unless it's like the New York Times, they can just get over themselves with their walls and shit. I'm like, get out of here with that. So this is from Bloomberg, and it says global food costs jump back near decade high on harvest woes. It says UN Food Index rose in August, snapping a 2-month drop. The rally raises inflation risks for central banks and consumers. Yeah, fuck the central banks. Anyway, so this article is from September 2nd of this year. Um, Global food prices climbed back to the near highest in a decade on smaller crop prospects, reviving concerns about inflationary pressures. Oh, yay. So, yeah, I mean, this whole article goes down like the food rally that we're seeing right here. And the UN gauge of food prices is back near the highest in a decade. Yeah, because they're expecting food prices to very strongly rise to as much as 30% plus inflation. So we've already started to see that on products now in stores,
Yeah.
big time. And it's on big stuff to small stuff to stuff they don't even think about.
Hmm.
This is all talking about the indexing and where they're seeing, stop harassing me, Bloomberg.
You got to
Anyway,
claim that offer.
I don't want to. So they can claim their own offer. So I'm all bitter. Go to hell. But yeah, I mean, it's a threat to this food supply chain and how it distributes. Those every link that we're sharing here, you'll be able to access the links there in our description box. But there's definitely, excuse me, there's definitely this rise in shortages. And what's crazy is there's a couple articles I had saved. You know when you save stuff as you go along?
Hmm.
And I've been just saving articles over the last few days to the last week since we last spoke because I started I was kind of debating if this was going to be our next topic again because
Hmm.
but I feel like revisiting it isn't a bad thing because it is going to become worse.
Well, yeah, especially if it's something we talked about and it's starting to look more and more
Mhm.
like it's gonna go down. Yeah, definitely got to revisit it.
So this is an article from Eat This Not That, and it's written by Amanda McDonald on August 27th of this year. She goes, there's a shortage of these 5 popular grocery items right now. So feeding the kids, pets, and the rest of the family might be harder due to low quantities of these foods.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, curious. So because this was written at the end of August, we're going to be looking at what their estimates are based on August numbers. So we just barely went into September. And so I think this is still a current event. So grocery stores are
Hmm.
seeing sales rise by almost 15% in August compared to this time 2 years ago, and by 3% compared to late summer of 2020, according to data from the Wall Street Journal. Some of the items have been experiencing shortages as of late are back, but it's bad news for others. Here are the 5 grocery items that are now in low quantity right now. And for more grocery news, check out, you know, downsizing change. She has everything linked here in the yellow underlined areas. So if you want to go to the citations. First item is Lunchables, which I'm not shocked by. Um, so this is one of those items everyone loves, especially kids. But
Lunchables been out forever too.
yeah, they've gotten funner since we were kids.
Yeah.
But and so basically, they're saying that a lot of these are missing in action because demand is up double digits as schools are back in session, and possibly because an employee strike is going on, according to a Reddit post. It's causing some grocery stores to make their own version to sell by packaging together crackers, cheese, grapes, and meats, says the Wall Street Journal. If this shortage means you're in need of some inspiration for home cooked lunches, here are some blah, blah, blah. And they give you suggestions. Canned foods, also a shortage. It seems like the aluminum can shortage plaguing your favorite soda and canned goods has been going on forever. Unfortunately, the effects of the early days of the pandemic are still impacting supply, and grocery stores are ending up with a fraction of the items that they're ordered. Specific canned goods that are in short supply right now include tomato products like tomato paste, canned tomatoes, and tomato sauce. Also, turkeys. Sure, it's
Hmm.
not autumn yet, but it might be a good time to start prepping for Thanksgiving because a main dish might be hard to find due to the fact that more people celebrated with smaller groups last year. Factories had to shut down due to COVID. Um, the labor market is tight, and the grain prices have also increased. So there's a shortage of smaller turkeys that weigh around 14 pounds or less. It's very precise schedule to get the turkey to the size of 14 pounds or less, as Daniel Romanoff, the president of meat distributor Nebraska Land, told the New York Post. And the plants weren't able to keep up with the size. So grocery stores are unsure if people want to buy larger birds, or some are breaking them up into parts and selling them more frozen options. Chicken, that's a big one.
Hmm. Especially chicken wings. There's a big chicken wing shortage.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
If you tried to order some of your favorite chicken items at fast food chains recently, you may have been told that they are out of stock. Back in February, news dropped that there may be a chicken shortage, and sure enough, here we are. And that was in February. That was in February. Anyway, so the issue is forcing grocery stores to look for other options beside their normal supply. The controller of Piggly Wiggly chain in Alabama and Georgia told the Wall Street Journal that they got chicken from a pork supplier that is much larger than what they normally sell, but luckily customers are still buying it. The chicken shortage isn't affecting everyone in the U.S. Lando's, for example, one of the Britain's most popular fast food chains. This recently had to close all 50 of its locations because they ran out of their main dish, said the New
Oh
York
wow.
Times. Yeah, I heard there was somebody talking on a forum and they were saying that Buffalo Wild Wings ran out of chicken wings.
Yeah, that and Wingstop. So he just doing the commercials with Rick Ross talking about his thigh stop now or whatever. But
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
this-
yeah.
now this one is I've noticed this for a while, but pet food is on shortage. This is on the list. Not
Mhm.
only is it more expensive to feed your furry member of your family right now, but it's also it's harder. Pet food costs are up from 8% to 20% thanks to higher soy, corn, and meat prices. And grocery store retailers like Amazon and Target are facing shortages of kibble, canned cat food, treats, and more, according to Reuters. The pet supply chain isn't that different from the food supply chain. A partner of OC&C strategy consultants, Coy Noakes, told the news outlet. That has obviously been stressed by COVID, whether it's the ingredients, raw materials, processing, or downtime at different facilities. The shortage is also coming at a time when pet food brands are being recalled due to possible toxin contamination. She had links that information in there. So she does give some supporting links all throughout this article. I highly suggest it's a good read. It's a short read, but it's informative, and at least it'll direct you in different citations and resources. So I mean, these are the big ones you notice in stores right now.
Yeah, and I know we're talking about food shortages, but forgot all about this, and I just wanted to bring it up
Hmm.
because it's also a shortage that I even realized was a big thing until now, but a part shortage, like car part shortage.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
let me bring up this article real quick. I'll post the link. But yeah, I heard and I was just like, oh wow. So there's an AP article. Where it's talking about part shortage will keep auto prices sky high. And I guess for what it's saying, back in the spring, a shortage of computer chips that had sent auto parts or auto prices soaring appeared finally to be easing. Some relief for consumers seemed to be in sight. That hope has now dimmed. A surge in COVID-19 cases from the Delta variant and several Asian countries that are the main producers of auto grade chips are worsening the supply shortage. It is further delaying a return to normal auto production and keeping the supply of
Mm.
vehicles artificially low. Um, yeah, I was hearing about this like a few days ago, about car part shortage. Um, and that's another thing too.
Oh yeah, because we have somebody in our group chat that was saying that the local car dealerships in their area have a fourth of the products on like their lots look pretty vacant.
Yeah,
Uh, and I was like, well, absolutely, absolutely, this is all tied together, big time.
yeah, and it's not even just like even something as like video game systems right now, like the new PlayStation, the new Xbox. They're talking about there's probably going to be delays all the way until September of next year
Hmm.
because of the chip shortage.
Correct.
So it's affecting a lot of not just in the food industry, but when it comes to the auto industry, video game industry, whatever. So it's you have shortages everywhere. It seems right now. Um,
There's what's funny is like on this article, and then what ties into this is another article
mhm.
um, that we had shared in the group chat. Let's see if my spiciness can pull this up here. Um, Also from AP, it was on September 2nd.
Mhm.
But it's all tied together. So it's really almost the same topic, but a different perspective of how it's affecting the actual um, car dealerships directly. But it
Yeah.
says GM and Ford halt some production as chip shortage worsens. And this is from AP. All these links that Rich has supplied and that I'm my end too. All of them will be in the description box under references. So the
Yeah.
global shortage of computer chips is getting worse, forcing automakers to temporarily close their factories, including those that build popular pickup trucks. General Motors announced Thursday that it would pause production at 8 of its 15 North American assembly plants during the next 2 weeks, including 2 that make the company's top-selling Chevy Silverado pickup. Ford will stop making pickups at Kansas City assembly plant for the next 2 weeks. Shifts will be cut at at 2 more of their truck plants in Dearborn, Michigan, and Louisville, Kentucky. The cuts will compound an already short supply of cars, trucks, and SUVs on dealer lots nationwide that have pushed prices to record levels. Automakers reported that U.S. dealers had just under 1 million new vehicles on their lots in August, 72% lower than 3.58 million in August of 2019. Quote, "It now appears to be accelerating in the wrong direction," said Jeff Schuster, whatever, president of global vehicle forecasting for LMC Automotive, a consulting firm. So the industry analysts, say that the Delta variant of the novel coronavirus has hit employees at chip factories in Southeast Asia hard, forcing some plants to close. That's worsened a chip shortage that was starting to improve earlier in the summer. So this is it's the same thing. It's the same issue. It's just now you're seeing, it's kind of like a snippet, clip it of here's some examples of what's actually as a cause and effect to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and ain't no telling how long this is going to go on. I guess it coincides with how long the pandemic is.
Absolutely.
But
Now I'm trying to pick up uh, these additional. This is a throwback article that I picked up because we're seeing shortages in all kinds of electronics and chips and other things, right? And
Mhm.
eh, we'll get to the labor shortage crap here in a minute, obviously, after we've talked about all this stuff. But it's this is an older article and it's talking about the chips shortage that they were facing in 2019. So it's kind of a throwback article, but
Yeah.
we were already having a shortage with chips prior to COVID hitting. Now they're claiming it was for numerous reasons of different suppliers in China and all this other crap. But this is from Semiconductor Engineering, Deep Insights into the Tech Industry. This was published February 20th of 2020, but in 2019 they were facing issues. So demand is growing both for the 200 fab capacity and equipment, setting the stage for possible shortages in coming months. But there have also been uncertainties, if not warning signs, in that market and the entire IC industry. Trade disputes, as well as current coronavirus outbreaks in China, likely will impact the chip and equipment markets. The size of the impact and the duration remains unclear for now. Nonetheless, for years, the market has been a sizable business for chip makers and equipment vendors alike. So 200 fabs are older facilities that process chips at mature nodes, which range from 250 nm to 90 nm. In total, there are more than 200 fabs worldwide that produce chips using 20 8-inch diameter wafers. Today, China has several new 20 fab production projects, on the drawing board. More advanced chips are produced in fabs using larger 12-inch wafer sizers, and many chip makers are also manufacturing devices in 300 fabs using mature processes. So the demand in the industry, though, is always they've been always struggling to keep up, is the summary. So this is kind of just a small little graph showing you the increased number of fabs required for different equipment and how
Mhm.
more expensive the pricing has gotten since 1995 to 2022 as far as expectancy of pricing and the boom and the necessity of it. So it's a very interesting article. I would check it out. It'll be in the description box. But this isn't new. The industry's just been struggling to keep up for a while. But this is kind of
Yeah.
like sent this shit over the edge because you have people closing down plants, you know,
Yep.
and I think that's,
It's a big domino effect,
yes,
what's
exactly.
going on right now. I can't say much about the auto industry. I mean, of course it hurts, especially if when it comes to either trying to buy a new car, and I'm pretty sure because there's a shortage in parts, the car prices are going to be the same or go up as well.
Mm,
So, it does affect people, especially if you're looking into getting a new car and stuff like that. But, you know, there's no, I can't predict. No, I don't think we can really predict when this will be over, if it's going to get worse. I mean, I think we're leaning towards it getting worse, especially with the food shortage.
oh yeah, yeah,
Um, and like we've been saying in a previous podcast, it's best to prepare now. I mean, I think the last podcast we talked about was like maybe
gosh,
2 months ago or something like
yes,
that.
that
So
sounds
around
accurate.
that time,
Hmm.
and going fast forward to now, and things are kind of looking like they're going down that path. So back then we were saying to please prep, get so you don't end up in that situation where you're panicking, don't know what to do. And you see
Right,
people how it was a Royal Rumble every time they're in the store fighting over toilet paper and stuff. So,
so
and
ridiculous.
I just, there was an article about people, let me see if I can find it, about people
Really,
going ahead and starting back up on stocking up on toilet paper.
yeah. Let me. I'll read this real quick because you mentioned
Yeah.
you touched on the computer chip shortage.
Hmm.
I ran across this and I thought, oh, this is good because we already know this. You and I know this. We've talked about it. People are starting to see it a little bit in in. We've seen it for at least a year, as far as
Hmm.
shortages on computers and getting different, like let's say a webcam or getting any kind of like anything that requires chips or
Yeah.
anything that is electronic, even because of the supply chain disruptions and ports and exports not bringing in as many goods. The Great Computer, this is from the Economic Prism. This will be in the description box. This is written on September 3rd. It's a very interesting website. I've gone over several of their articles and commentaries and citations. Very well written. So, anyway, it goes on. It says the Great Computer chip shortage of 2021 is just heating up, and it will likely get worse before it gets better. This conclusion was reached following brief study and anecdotal review. Moreover, while COVID lockdowns may have initially triggered the shortage, several
Hmm.
decades of short-sighted decisions and simmering geopolitical tensions have made it much more than a matter of fixing a few broken links in a supply chain, and here's why. The world's top two leading chip companies are Taiwan's TSMC and South Korea's Samsung Electronics. These two Asian firms combined control more than 70% of the semiconductor manufacturing market. The US, which was once the leader, lags behind in chip manufacturing after major and short sighted shifts in the business models in the semiconductor industry over the last 15 years. But this could change assuming the US government can bend the semiconductor market to better meet its will. The global semiconductor shortage and geopolitical tensions with China have now prompted Washington's scrutiny of the supply chain. Suddenly, the US government doesn't like how semiconductor manufacturing is concentrated in the hands of a small number of Asian companies. Shock and awe. So, anyway, this is now a push to bring manufacturing back to American soil. Oh my, clutch the pearls. So,
Oh wow.
this is they're now crying over the spilt milk. Like, they've
Yeah.
known this for decades. Oh my god. So anyway,
Yeah.
oh
Y-
man,
Yeah,
know
and I know we're gonna touch on it also, but it was an article. I don't want to forget it, so I'm gonna
yeah.
talk about it now
Oh yeah, yeah.
before I. So I know we're talking about the food shortage, the chip shortage, but also there's this global edible oil shortage going on right now, and there was an article I seen, Reuters, I believe it was, and because of it, and it has to tie in with the labor shortage, right?
Yes.
So with
Mhm.
this labor shortage, like
Oh,
for example, I think this is in Malaysia,
there.
the rats are enjoying, they're having a blast, but it's causing
Ugh.
the drought and labor shortages eat into global edible oil recovery. And this is in now, a lot of people, if you don't know anything about Malaysia, the K is silent. So this is the name of the city. It's Para. I believe that's how it's pronounced. Para or Para. But the K is silent. So there we go. But in a sprawling oil palm plantation in the Malaysian state of Pará. Watermelon seedings are sprouting from freshly. Oh, this is from this, I think.
Right.
Oh. But basically, what's going on? They're talking about the labor shortage, and it's causing a problem because, as for like palm oil, for example, this picture is from a oil palm plantation. These are
Wow.
palm oil fruit.
You know that looks like dead porcupines, dude.
Yeah, I thought when I first seen it, I thought it was like some kind of animals. They were just, or
I'm
like
like, dude,
giant
things are
mutated
getting bad.
hedgehogs or something. Yeah,
We're killing the porcupines. Oh no.
yeah. So they're already dealing with a labor shortage, and not only that, you have animals eating into what they have as far as
Mm,
their crops and stuff. So that's also a big thing. Let me see here. It says in Malaysia, which accounts for around 33% of global palm oil exports, the average yield of palm fruit bunches in January to June fell to 7.15 tons per hectare. What the heck? I've never.
where is it? Highlight it. Sorry, it's a little
Yes.
small.
I'm like, is that hectare? Hectare.
Hector.
Yeah. I knew I wasn't crazy.
Sure. That looks like
From yeah,
Hector.
we'll go with that. From 7.85 a year ago, Malaysian Palm Oil Board data shows a drop in average crude palm oil yields to 1.41 tons.
Ooh.
So says many plantations were harvesting with 2/3 or less of the required workforce after government coronavirus. Should I even say that?
Where
I
is it
guess
again?
whatever. So I'm reading it. So after government coronavirus restrictions
Yeah,
cut off
fuck it.
the usual supply of migrant workers from Indonesia to South Asia, said more than a dozen plantation owners interviewed by Reuters said the lack of workers has forced them to extend their harvesting window from 14 days to as many as 40 days, a change that compromises the quality of the fruit and risk the loss of some parts of the fruit bunches.
Mm.
So yeah, you're dealing with that. I guess they're a big time palm oil supplier,
Mm-hmm.
global palm oil supplier, and now they're dealing with the labor shortage due to the pandemic, which is causing this drop here.
Damn.
So yeah, it's also it's affecting everything, especially
Yep.
globally, and and these certain countries are big time global suppliers or whatever when it comes to certain foods or herbs or whatever. It
Right.
affects everything. It's a big cycle. So yeah, it was a pretty interesting article that
That's interesting. Because palm oil
yeah.
is one of those big ones that they were saying, oh, there's, oh my gosh. So, like, there's a couple articles I wanted, because you touched on the labor shortage thing, and that's come up a lot, right?
Hmm.
And there's a lot of crazy stuff I've been reading and stuff we've experienced personally as a family with this stuff, meaning not so much about lack of service, but the way the
Yeah.
companies are going about their bullshit. But
Hmm.
for a starting point, I thought this was like, what? McDonald's hiring 14-year-olds in Oregon amid the labor shortage. This was from 5 days
Hoo-wee.
ago from BBC News. You can find this link in the description, like just like with Rich's links as well. Now hiring 14 and 15-year-olds. There's a site outside the McDonald's. Oh God. Oh no. You know, my kids, you
Anybody.
don't want that. You don't want that
Yeah.
shit. They're gonna be in there playing with
Wow.
McNuggets and shit. What the fuck? I'm saying I'm a biased person. That was a bit ageist, but I gotta calm down. A branch of McDonald's in Oregon, US, is calling on 14 to 15-year-olds to apply for jobs at the restaurant amid a shortage of fast food workers. The Biddle Road franchise in Medford put a banner outside its shop for 2 weeks ago, urging young workers to apply. According to reports, it has seen a spike in applications since making the offer, which does comply with labor laws. It comes as fast food and other outlets across the U.S. struggle to fill vacancies despite restrictions easing. Heather Kennedy, operator at the Medford restaurant, told Business Insider such staff shortages were unheard of in her family's 40-year history operating the McDonald's franchises. Initially, she attracted more workers by raising the restaurant's minimum wage to $15 an hour. but did not spark enough interest. However, Ms. Kennedy said that she received more than 25 new applications since she opened her doors to those under 16. McDonald's declined to comment on the move, but told BBC franchises we're using a range of measures to tackle staff shortages, including better pay, sign-on bonuses, and new benefits like backup childcare. McDonald's also recently announced it raised hourly wages to an average of 15 per hour at company-owned restaurants across the U.S. It is not the first fast food chain to ask younger workers to fill its staffing gaps. Branches of Burger King and Wendy's have put up similar signs recently, and according to reports, the Texas chain Lane's Chicken Fingers is promoting workers in their teens and early 20s into managerial positions amid a lack of more experienced recruits. U.S. labor laws vary state to state, but in Oregon, people aged 14 and above are allowed to work in non-hazardous jobs such as food service, as long as their hours are limited to accommodate their schooling, and they get adequate rest breaks. However, it seems to be rare. The average age of an employed McDonald's worker in the U.S. is 27, according to research from jobs website Zippia. There is currently a sharp labor shortage in the U.S. as the fear of COVID, schools remaining shut, and lack of available childcare keeps workers at home. Some economists have also blamed generous federal benefits through the pandemic, which provide an extra $300 per week, although those have already expired in many states. That is correct. Vacancies for lower skilled, lower paid jobs have been particularly hard to fill, prompting firms such as Walmart and Amazon to offer retention bonuses and higher starting wages. So anyway, that is the article there from BBC News. I thought that was hilarious, though. I was like, oh my, here we are.
Oh wow. Yeah, I mean they at this point they're just like, hey man, I don't care how 12 y'all come in too and get hired. I
Got
mean
some
it
kid in there flossing between their McNugget making and shit.
I mean that shows you that's desperation right there. Like they're like,
Yeah.
man, please, come on, you get a free PlayStation. Come on,
Free
14, 15,
PlayStation.
something.
We're having a raffle. That'll be
I
next.
mean,
We're having a
yeah, I
raffle.
mean, because there was that point in time where companies were they're offering money or whatever to get people to come back,
Oh, absolutely.
and work. So yeah,
Now, this is an article from Business Insider I picked up, and I thought it was interesting because it kind of does a breakdown. It says 3 explanations for the labor shortage, according to Morgan Stanley. And I will say that as much as it rambles on, I'm going to summarize it, but they actually make some very valid points here. So, number one is school closures are probably playing a role. Uh, so, the Morgan Stanley economist cited a Federal Reserve analysis that found that more people did not participate in the labor force because of caregiving responsibilities during the pandemic. In fact, the decrease in participation for caregiving reasons accounts for all of the decline in participation from others. Well, yeah. Politician experts have identified childcare or lack thereof as a primary driver of shortages. School reopenings could offer more concrete in person options for parents, although experts say moms may not return to work for months. Now, fuck off. Anyway, leave the. Anyway, another thing that they pointed out here is a stickier issue is growing number of retirees over the age of 55. Morgan Stanley said labor force participation dropping among America's older workers may be harder to reverse, with the number of retirements exceeding projections. And many of those recent retirees over 65, meaning the likelihood of them returning is lower. Yeah, this is very true. I know quite a few people that went ahead and just said, you know what? I'm retiring at 55. Not even
yeah,
playing. And that's exactly what's happened. Um, Two, a mismatch between the industry's hiring and the workers seeking jobs. I mean, they're overqualified for the jobs that they want to fill, either because they have degrees or they have experience that supersedes the positions. They're looking for better paying jobs.
hmm
A survey of 1,800 workers by the remote and flexible job site FlexJobs found that 48% were frustrated by their search because they weren't finding the right positions. Well, that's been going on for years.
yeah,
Right? So, three, people moved during the pandemic and many of their jobs did not. Um, Morgan Stanley wrote that areas such as New York and San Francisco have seen substantial population outflows, but have huge numbers of open positions for service jobs. At the same time, ex, ex-urban areas have lots of openings for professional roles. Neither the cities nor the exurbs seem to have enough of the right type of worker. The migration may have to settle before these needs for workers are satisfied, and that could take a long time. As Morgan Stanley economist wrote, after the 2008 financial crisis, regional misallocation of labor was one of the reasons that employment was slow to recover. And I thought that was a very interesting breakdown of what they're saying is causing the shortages. A lot of it is maltreatment at jobs. I mean, that's included in here as well, and bullying and all those types of other shit things. And also the fact is, you're not getting paid a lot to do these jobs when the cost of living. People wanted the 15 an hour. That's great. So now everything's going to cost more. So you're not going to. You're basically getting the same pay you would have gotten in the end with inflation coming into play and all these other things, as well as cost of living. You're making almost the same as minimum wage if you had been making what, $5 an hour back in the day.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it
Exactly.
sounds fucked up, but being real. So yeah, I ran across that because I was trying to figure out. I heard all the different versions of what people were saying, explanations of why there was a job labor shortage. But the truth is like there are I've applied at places that were beneath me in the position, and they didn't want to hire me because I had too much experience, or they just had a swarming of applicants. That was the issue for a long time. And now they can't get anybody to fill a damn job.
Exactly.
I'm like,
And
well, sucks to be you, industry that sucked for years,
exactly. And and I mean, if I know some of it has to do with people being afraid to go back to work because of what's going on, but a lot of it, when last year, when a lot of people lost their jobs and they were getting, their unemployment and then got that extra help in unemployment, I forgot, I guess, I forgot how much more they were getting. A lot of it was like, I'm making more on unemployment than I ever did at working at this restaurant or doing
right,
this. Why am I going to go back to that when I'm making more?
on unemployment.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So I know for the most part, the extra benefits have ran out for um, most, if not all, yet.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
during that period, they were like, "I'm good. I'm not gonna go in there and deal with that craziness. Only making this much when I don't have to do that. I'm making a lot more every week with these extra benefits." So to try to pull those people back in is tough. Like I said, that's why a lot of companies were offering money, sign-on bonuses, even though sign-on bonuses is nothing new,
Correct.
but a lot
Right.
more companies were doing it to
Yes.
entice people to come back. Like, look, we'll give you this right now. You come back, get hired, we'll give you this much, or just new hires in general. But
Yes.
it seems like it's a more of a struggle now getting people to come back to those type of jobs. And I think a
Hmm.
lot of it has to do is when this happened, maybe a lot of them sat back and realized like, nah, this ain't it. This job
Yep.
ain't it. Before this happened, they were like they kind of felt like they had no choice at to make money and whatever. So you dealt with the crappy jobs and stuff. And now after that hit, they probably sat back and was like, "Nah, I'm good. I don't want to go through that, deal with that mess." And I know I worked at a fast food restaurant when I
Hmm.
was a teenager. I'm pretty sure
Yep.
you did yourself.
Yep. I
It's
did.
not. It's just nothing fun about working at a fast food restaurant
No, it's
at all.
I mean, depends on where you work and who
Yeah,
you're working
yeah,
for.
and
Like,
who you're
I did
around.
so much better at like a mom and pop type
Yeah,
restaurant. Like, I worked at a pizzeria. That was
than a
like,
big time chain.
oh
You
hell
know.
yeah, the big time chains, like it sucks. Like, and if you got shitty managers, let's be honest, there's
Hmm.
quite a few of that, and especially if you have
Yeah,
people in those positions who don't have any background or experience as being a manager, you pretty much
yeah,
suffer under that. So the
exactly.
conditions, I feel like they're creating more conditions of negative working conditions without even realizing it out of desperation to keep their money afloat.
Yeah, and like that article you showed, they're gonna hire 14 and 15-year
Hmm.
olds. They're gonna quit real quick. I'm like, I don't want to work here and deal
Right.
with this mess.
It's fine when
No,
you're young and you're not having to be dependent on that for living.
yeah,
But
it's not when you get a job like that when you're a teenager, it's like getting welcomed into the workforce. Like my
hmm
oldest daughter, she quit this was her first job. And there was so much mess dealing with, not only was she dealing with the craziness of certain customers, she dealt with racism at this job, and she never experienced it, and it sucked because, you know, as a parent, you want to be there 24/7 to protect your kids, and it was something she had to face on her own from her own manager, and basically she just after that incident, she was like, "Dad, I don't want to go back to work." I'm like, "You don't have to. No one forced you
Right.
to get a job. If you don't want, I understand you want to have some money in your pocket and all that. I get that.
Right.
Um,
Absolutely.
but
Yeah.
I told her, like, no, you don't have to put up with uh, that. Definitely no.
No.
So she was like, but the fast food, if you've never worked, anybody listening, if you've never worked at a fast food joint, yeah, don't even bother.
Yeah,
It's not
it's a
worth it.
job. It's a job it's really you get, Beef did that for a while and he hated it
Yeah,
because he started
yeah.
seeing like the corrupted behavior of management and how they treat employees. Now, if you got a good manager and you got a good owner for
Mhm,
franchise or any location, you're good.
mhm.
And I swear it
Yeah.
makes a difference. But if you got a shitty manager and you got bad management in general and
Mhm.
the owner's an ass, yeah, you're going to be out really quick because they start to treat you accordingly. They treat you like trash. And
Yeah.
the truth is, with COVID and all these things that are going on, their liability is like on you. It's not on
Mhm.
them. They couldn't give a shit less. They go through the process of, protecting their employees. If they're a good company, they protect their employees. They do the right things and they advocate for them to have better benefits. They ensure that they do in case something does occur and that there is a accountability process, right, to protect their employees. But a lot
Yeah.
of service industry jobs don't do that. Even hospitality is really taking a hit. Never mind just the common sense of people aren't traveling and not going places. But I'm talking healthcare hospitality to regular hospitality.
Yeah.
They're getting bullied at work by whether it be customers or their employers. They're getting the third degree about this, that, and the other. The politics are coming into play. There's a lot of bias and prejudice going on. Why the hell would anybody want to go into that? Why do they want to, you know, it's about the money in the end. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. They're not there because I mean, I don't know many people that go into certain jobs 100% because they love it. Most people go into jobs because they need a job.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
not there to make it a fucking career.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
that's the
So if
truth, right?
yeah, some people are in situations where they got no choice. It's a job they would not normally go after.
Hmm.
Or if someone who's been on a job hunt for a while can't find nothing,
Right.
come across something that they absolutely hate, but they're doing it for their family, doing it for themselves, whatever the case is. They need money, they need to take care of bills. A lot of people don't like their jobs, believe it or not. you
Shocking,
know
right?
they go there because they got to put food on the table. They keep a roof over their head, put clothes on their back, their kids back. So it's not like I'm fortunate in my situation where others like me, where we were going in the office, and then once the pandemic happened, we got to work from home, and now it's become like permanent.
Permanent.
My boss and my supervisor, they all moved back to Florida
Oh,
during this time.
badass.
So,
See,
like, yeah, they
I
moved back
like
to
this.
Florida. Like,
This is
we
the
have,
direction that the industry needs to move in. There was
exactly.
a article, right, that was
Hmm.
on Twitter, and New York Times posted it.
Hmm.
And first off, that's just fucking hilarious. The article was so like whoever wrote it, it was they asked for everything that they got. Let me just say that because it was one of those New York Times articles where there's a paywall up,
Yeah.
and it's hilarious. I'm trying to find it right now because I did post it in several places. Yeah, here they are. It was gold. It was absolute gold. I'm going to just share a screenshot of it because I can't access the article. But the title, because I
Hmm.
don't want to deal with the paywall and they can kiss my ass. New York Times ain't
Yeah.
that important.
Yeah.
Just, summary for everyone in the class, not that important.
Yeah.
Um, I can get the same from Huffington Post if I wanted
Yeah.
to get any quality education there. But It is a tweet that they posted on August 28th, and it says a silent majority of American workers do not want to get back to the office at least a few days a week. Um, excuse me, they do want to get back to the office at least a few days of the week. As coronavirus cases rise and companies keep workplaces closed, these frustrated employees can't wait to return to their cubicles. And so
They
the title of the article is It's Back to the Isolation Bubble for the Workers Pining for the Office.
as these young kids say, they are capping, big time.
Oh,
Because number one, now if it's a situation where you have a small percentage of
hmm,
people who that's their escape from home, maybe they're in a abusive relationship or a lot of negativity or whatever's going on, their escape is going into the
work.
office. Just
Yeah,
like the kids, like their escape is going to school, instead of being at home. So I get that. I get that percentage. But you can't sit here and tell me that the majority of people, unless they got like a side piece that at work that they miss or something, but you can't tell me the majority of people want to go back in the office.
hell
No,
no.
no.
This is the
It,
biggest load of shit. And then when you read the top comment, which I liked because it was hilarious, is from Judah Friedlander, comedian. He says, "Nobody wants to return to cubicles, you sociopaths." And someone responded to him again, "Suck my dick, you fucking cops." Oh
exactly.
God,
Like
nobody wants to
nobody.
go back
So
there, dude.
especially if your job is far, like for me,
Yes.
for anybody who never lived in the valley or never lived in Arizona, Phoenix metro area, I live in Tempe off of Guadalupe and rural. My job is off of 7th Street and the 101. That's North Phoenix. So
Mhm.
when I go to work, it's about a 30-35 minute drive to
Right.
work. And that's without traffic. Now when I was getting off in the morning at 7:30 in the morning, as soon as I get on the 101 going east, there's already traffic. So I'm
Right.
sitting in traffic for like an hour until I get back home. My eyes are on fire. I just worked 10 hours and I'm tired. So then you got to sit in traffic for an hour just to get back home. So it's been when you're working at home, you're more comfortable. For me, I'm
Yes.
more comfortable. I'm at home. I don't have to get all dressed up and go out and deal with people or whatever. I'm at home. We can do the same exact job in the office at home. There's not a reason for us to have to be in the office, and especially in the IT field, a lot of stuff you could do unless you need to physically, like there were certain situations where for my job I had to go in the office and physically switch off a server or something, but that's rare. That's very
Right.
rare where I would have to go in there and do that. Everything else can be done remotely. We
Right.
can we
Absolutely.
in
Yeah.
my field we can monitor or whatever we need to monitor remotely. We don't need to be in the office. And I think when this pandemic happened, they realized that, like, we don't they don't need to be here. We can do, and we
Right.
proved are actually our productivity was better
Yeah.
working from home. And that's another thing. A lot of people, when they're in that comfortable space or whatever, I think there's even been, you know they've done tests and stuff on it, or
Yes.
where they've shown that the productivity is a lot higher when you're in a comfortable area. You're at home working from home.
And that's the thing, right? Is like
Hmm.
they have tried to claim, and this is what's pissed me off. And I cannot name names of companies, so I'm not going to do that because it's not. No, that's just a bad move. But we are aware of a couple things that a couple major corporations have been doing. Uh, Relationships of people who are employed under them in different branches of the same company, and they're
Hmm.
all angry about how these companies are lying, saying, "Oh, your productivity has actually gone down since you've been home." Well, let me say this, and this is really a bitch move for me to say this, but I don't really give a shit. If silent majority wants to go back, let them fucking go back.
Hmm.
And the problem is, though, is that if you have employees who cannot be self-sufficient and independent workers and cannot be relied upon to do their jobs, fire them.
Exactly.
Fire them.
If
This
you
is a
got to hold
common.
their hand
Yes.
all the time, they can't. You can't trust them to still be productive when they're working from. Then you need to let them go.
You need to let them go because they cannot be efficient on their own. They're not. These are adults. These are not children. And
Exactly.
that's how I look at it. So can the motherfuckers get people who want to work, who will do the job and outshine them? Those who are
Exactly.
producing, who have maintained or even excelled at their jobs since being home. These are the people that you should be keeping, not keeping people who act like fucking 10-year-olds in that job. Let them go work for McDonald's. They're taking 14 and 15-year-olds in Oregon and Burger
Exactly.
King and all this other. There's jobs out there for them. Can them, because
And
obviously they don't care about their jobs. But to
yeah,
punish everybody over a minority of people who cannot adult is absolutely stupid. And I also believe it's economic, because a lot of the quarterly earnings, right, are coming
hmm,
out in October for some major corporations. They have a Q4 that's coming up
yeah,
October 14th.
yep,
So they're pushing people into trying to get people back into the physical locations to work because they get certain government benefits by having physical workers in physical business office buildings,
yep,
because they won't get those benefits if they don't have a certain number of people working in the office. So they're trying to pull different maneuvers with their employees to force them back in, even bribing them with increases of pay, thinking that that's somehow going to prevent them from having a shortage. The truth is, I know the numbers of people looking for employment somewhere else is higher than they'll ever be said, way higher, and the numbers are out there right now showing the workforce is just saturated with people looking for remote jobs because they're sick of, they now realize, like what you said, the comfort
hmm,
level of being home, not having to travel to and from work. So if you
hmm,
got bad eggs in here and people who bitch because they want to go back because they have an unhappy, that's personal. You need to definitely deal with that and get yourself into a
yeah,
safer or more comfortable situation that suits you. But the world should not accommodate. I'm sorry. I'm not a collectivist. Fuck them. You know,
yeah. No,
fuck
no,
'em.
I agree with you. And you know, after me experiencing this, I'm, when that time does come where I feel like, hey, let me look for a better paying job or whatever the case it may be, where I decide I want to move on from my current job.
Right.
I'm I'm not going to accept anything but remote going forward. That's just how it
Absolutely.
is now. Like I've got this, I've been doing remote for over a year now, and I'm not going back to that. I'm not. It's just it's same thing. Nina, she's a remote worker. Same thing
Mm-hmm.
for her. So it's just, for me personally, and especially with me having the girls, their sports seasons have started and everything, and so I'm running around to practices, to games and stuff like that. It's a lot easier for
Mm-hmm.
me to do that, and
You
play,
mean
and it
be in your kid's life?
yeah.
Oh my God.
It's a lot easier for me to do that from home, and especially, well, it's easier anyway because I work graveyards, but still,
Mm-hmm.
I used to have to, like, when I would get off Saturday mornings, I would have to stay up if there was one of their games, because I would have to, as soon as I got home, get ready to take them to their game.
Right.
Whereas, at least, and my schedule's changed a little bit, where I get off earlier now. I get off at 5:30 instead of 7:30 now, so I now I can get a little bit of sleep before I have to get up and go to games or whatever the case is. But it's just less stress, and that's for a lot of people working from home. You save on gas, ain't got to worry about driving your car all day every day to back and forth to work. It's just a lot of benefits working from home,
Mm-hmm.
and you want people to just give that up and go back in the office. It's like, no, man. Now, I will say this. Um, at my job, there are, of course, have the IT department, but there's also a contact center department, like customer service, right?
Right.
Now, a lot of those reps, they need to be in the office because
Yeah.
they take mad advantage of working from home. Oh man, I got some stories on that, but yeah, some of them got fired because they got caught up playing around. But yeah, no, there's definitely you'll always have some, no matter what it is, you'll always have somebody trying to spoil it for everybody. Especially in this situation where you will have somebody just trying to mess it up for everybody. And we've already had our surveys about going, whether we prefer going. Everybody was like, nope, work.
See,
we're,
and that's
we're good.
exactly it.
Yep.
You know,
So I don't
there's
know where they're getting their numbers from, but I know everybody at my job was like, "Nah, we good at working from home."
and that's the thing is like a lot of people just prefer to work from home, especially when you have families. I mean, not everyone is in the same boat. Like I know with Squirrel, there's people that he works with that much prefer not to be at home because they don't like their family. I
Yeah,
mean, they don't even like their own kids. They don't like their spouses. Like they would rather be in the workplace so they have somewhere to hide and also to become an HR issue. Let me say that. You know what I mean? They're looking for a bakery that's open, if you know what I'm saying.
uh,
So they so you got those troublemakers, and I think to myself, if they go remote, the HR issues are going to completely diminish.
yep,
You're not going to have a lot of, you might have issues no matter what. With humans, you got problems. That's just life. But if you can avoid, let's say, and also, I'm not trying to say anything, I'm just saying in general. Do you think that going remote also would prevent workplace shootings?
of course,
I mean, that's just a thought.
yeah, of course. Um, and it's unfortunate that it's a thing.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I'm trying to think. What was the last? Was the FedEx one the last one, or I'm pretty sure there's something after that.
Yeah, there was something after, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
And these were like in business buildings. These weren't like
yeah,
well, I know they had shootings at distribution centers, but a lot of the bigger ones, it
yeah.
seems, are
We're
like
like in
offices.
offices, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, and I understand certain, not only the people that are don't like their lives outside of work, but there's people that are always on the go that like travel a lot for their job and they love it. They love to travel or something. So I
Yes.
can understand if they're like, man, I want to get back to doing that. That's okay, that's cool. But no, yeah, it prevents a lot of stuff. I think that, like you said, some of these businesses they want that extra money, they want that government money, so they're going to do whatever to get people in the office. But it also depends on the field you're in. Like in the IT field, a lot this day and age, a lot of stuff can be done remotely in the IT field.
Hmm.
You really don't need to be in. Our engineers or at my job were remote anyway. So there's a lot of depending on the field, there's honestly don't there's no reason to work in the office.
No.
Um, and I think now, and I'm happy for the companies that realize that and are sticking with it, and they're
Yes.
realizing that your employees are happy, you know,
Oh yeah.
working from
Retention's
home.
going to be great.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a lot. The hustle and bustle, when you're out there on the grind and stuff, it wears you out. No matter what kind of job you have, especially if it's a job you're not happy with. But yeah, me and you both agree, and I'm pretty sure majority of everyone else agrees that working from home does wonders compared to having to go to the office every single day.
Absolutely. There's this article here. It was written August 17th from Forbes by Jack Kelly. It says the real reasons why companies don't want you to work remotely, right? And it's a real pain in the ass. So I'm going
Hmm.
to go down to the list, and not to be, rude to his article. I'm just going to scan it here. Go down to
Yeah.
the reasons. So here are some of the reasons why middle management and executives are afraid of this trend continuing of people trying to push for remote. It's about results, not hours. So pre-pandemic, the goal for workers was to show how steadfastly you labored all day under the flickering fluorescent lights. It's all about FaceTime. When your manager
Mm-hmm.
sees you, he feels like you're being proactive, even if you're just searching Amazon for bargain deals at your desk. Oh God, I love you, Jack. That was good. Oh shit.
I
I
definitely was doing that.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm like, maybe. I admit that pre-COVID-19, I counseled people to play the game. I'd tell them to make sure their supervisors are well aware of what you're doing. I'd suggest people to make it look like you're putting in the long hours that they want. Leave your suit jacket on the back of your chair and keep a half-empty cup with the remains of a bagel on your desk when you leave your office. When your nosy boss peeked in at 5:45 p.m., they'd know that you were around and working even though you had already left for the day. You'd also want to be the first one in the morning and the last person to walk out the door in the evening. Leave voicemails, send texts, emails super early in the morning, late at night, and on weekends, I'd advise them. It shows that you're hustling. Tell the boss of everything you're doing and make sure they're aware Jesus, of all your efforts. It sounds sad, but you need to stand out to get noticed. With remote, there's no need for the charades any longer. Now it's about productivity. Since you're not now that you're out of sight, the only thing that manager can measure you on is output and results. No longer do you get to play the silly corporate game of pretending you're at your desk all day long. Middle management is running scared. The job of middle and senior managers is to crack the whip and ensure everyone is earning their pay. Many supervisors enjoy the power they lord over you. It makes them feel big and important. This is like what I refer to as big dick energy. So there are endless
Uh,
meetings that allow the boss to drone on about nonsense, and you must suffer through their insufferable jargon-filled, pompous preening. They'll ask for ideas, only to offer them later to top executives, claiming that it was their own. You'll be assigned laborious, inane tasks that will take months to accomplish, but are actually busy work projects designed to make the managers take notice of how hard everyone's grinding. With a distributed workforce, they lose their stranglehold over you. They cannot micromanage you like they used to. It's already been proven that people have been amazingly productive while at home, without the supervisors breathing down their necks. Pretty soon, the senior level executives will wonder what the middle managers are actually doing and contemplate if they really are necessary or a waste of money. In their hearts, they know that they may not really be needed. The company could easily carve out a large swathe of these busybodies and save a fortune. That's why they're panicking. They'll have to find a new job, and that's not a rosy prospect. It's easier to push back on the remote trend and fight to keep the pre-virus status quo. Expensive real estate. Major corporations have invested small fortunes into purchasing, leasing, and refurbishing office space. If staff do not return en masse to the C-suite, executives will have to eat the huge expensive costs of their office buildings, not to mention all the rental shit they have to have in those buildings. As all of the other companies are moving toward remote, it won't be too easy to sell their portfolio of offices or sublease them. The CEO and CFO will view the empty office space as throwing money out the window. If they are locked into a long-term lease, they'll rationalize that it's more economically feasible to have people in the office, even if the employees don't want to return. By pushing people to return to their offices, it will make the bean counters feel better, that they aren't wasting money. It's kind of like when you were a kid and your mom made you wear clothes that you hated, but had to wear them because she paid good money for the outfits. It's not that they want their employees to be unhappy, it's just because they want to cut down on costs and maximize their profits. It's hard work. Having everyone together under one roof is relatively easy. Corporate management has done this for decades. With wildly dispersed workforce, it's more challenging. Adding a hybrid model, which entails people coming into the office 2 or 3 times a week, adding another level of logistical complications. Managers will have to keep track of everyone. They'll need to exert a lot of time and effort, scheduling and empathy to make this work out well. If not executed right, the risks are high that remote workers will feel left out and become second-class citizens, as they're out of sight and out of mind. A recent study conducted by the Society for Human Resources Management found that supervisors are not happy with the extra work associated with remote work. The findings of the survey showed that supervisors don't hold remote workers in high regard. Managers reported negative perceptions of the work from home trend. The managers were brutally honest here. Nearly 70% replied that remote workers are more easily replaceable than on-site workers. About 67% of supervisors said they spend more time supervising remote workers than on-site workers, which we know is bullshit. That means they just have to put in more effort. Oh my God, these fucking guys, fire them. Anyway, around
Yep.
43% of supervisors say they sometimes forget about remote workers when assigning tasks, and 72% say they would prefer all their subordinates to be working in the office. Fuck you guys. Fuck you
Yep.
guys. So, anyway, that's the article written by Jack Kelly, who I'm a CEO, founder, and executive recruiter of one of the oldest and largest global research firms of my expertise. So that's his background. You can find this article in the description box below. But yeah, he's right. This goes down to the money and the need for control. And it's somebody actually referenced it as boomer thinking. I was like, oh my, not wrong. It's very old school. Having everyone in a building being super like haunting. And I remember looking busy. I don't know how
Hmm.
many jobs I've had to do that shit on. And it's all bullshit. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm doing the same numbers I would do every day, which was still decent and still relatively great for what I was doing. But it was just bullshit. Like, a lot of the work is not, it's let me do my work without you haunting me was always my problem. I had to deal more with workplace drama
Yeah.
of shit that had nothing to do with my job and noise and interferences. And otherwise, if I were at home doing this job, I wouldn't have those interferences. I'd get through it just fine. But it is about control and it's about money. In the end, those are the two factors here that they're fighting. So the numbers and lying that they're doing, New York Times, you corporatist assholes, you know, fuck them all. I can't believe it.
Yeah. Like you said, and what a lot of people, and I've noticed that when people asking for remote work, you'll have people chime in, "I'll stop being a crybaby. You're not a real worker if you need to work from home and blah blah blah." And like you said, a lot of it is that baby boomer
Yep.
mentality.
As they're
Um,
retired and sitting at home.
yeah,
Shut the fuck up, please.
and what they have to understand, times have changed. Times have
Yes.
changed, whether they like it or not. Why, it was the saying, work smarter, not harder,
Mhm.
you know. So if working from home produces the same results, if not more, for the better than when working in an office, then why not go that route? A lot of it has to do with money, and a lot of it has to do with control.
Yes.
Those are the two main things: money and control. If you're not around, they feel they can't have that control.
Right.
They can't watch you 20, you're not 24/7, but the whole time you're at work, they can't be over your shoulder, so they feel that control they have, they don't feel they have it. Now, not all jobs are like that. Some, like I said,
No.
some jobs have taken on that and embraced working from home. There's jobs
Because
that
they're
were,
smart.
yeah, and jobs that were doing it way before any of this happened.
Mhm.
But now it's just a lot more jobs had to do it, because of the pandemic, and a lot of jobs are sticking with it.
Yep.
So,
Mhm.
I would love for all these jobs that you are able to work from home, would stick with it, but we all know that's not going to happen. And of course, like the general labor jobs, you won't be able to do it from home. You know,
No, no.
but yeah, jobs where you can do it from home. A lot of these companies really need to stick with that, even though we both know that's not going to be the case. But no, no,
And
not.
you know what's funny is most of the bitching I've heard is very few
Hmm.
people who bitched about it. Um, those who were bitching about it, the loudest are two different groups. Ones who just have misery at home, they don't want to be around their family,
Hmm.
or they get all their socializing done at work. Right, they're in that category, which is fair, I guess. I don't go
Yeah,
to work to have social hour. For me, it was about making money, being there to work and get the hell out of there and not deal with shit. Um, I'm
exactly.
serious. Like, even when we worked at the company we were both at, like that was
Hmm.
the first time I actually really socialized very much at all at a job.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, it was like, I don't want to deal with HR. I don't want to deal with drama in workplaces with, egos flying and managers, people trying to get into management and just acting like fools. I don't want to get involved in that. I just want to make money. I don't have room for it. Some people did. I don't have room for that shit. So I can imagine the benefits, especially if you're in a corporate cubicle like circus on a daily in and out basis. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make any sense, to have people in a physical building unless you are customer facing or
Yep.
meaning you are actually meeting people in person,
Mm-hmm.
or even if you're doing, like you said, manual labor, blue collar type jobs. But in those things, once again, it goes back to work conditions. I think we're going to see, and this is just a hypothesis, right, is a complete revamping of the workforce in such a way it's going to be kind of like its own form of an industrial revolution, but a technological workforce revamping,
Yeah.
to really accommodate and utilize and push the internet to its full capabilities, instead of making excuses for it all the time. And these corporations are the kings and queens of making excuses for this bullshit of why they have to have us in a physical building. And a lot of it is just you can still have you're going to have to start training your employees to be adults and not, children. So that's
Exactly.
going to have to come back to that. I think the millennial generation, unfortunately, you have all types of capacities that are thrown together. And there's actual training programs for corporations of how to deal with millennials in workplaces because they need their handheld, is what they were saying. And I was like, well, that sounds like you don't need to worry about that much longer if you have Zers coming in and other generations. So the millennials will either pick up their pants, deal with their life choices, and move on as an adult would, um, or they won't keep up. And that's really on them to make that determination. And I know that sounds very cutthroat, but I had to learn the hard way. I worked with Xers and Zoomers, and when I early started work, because I was in professional workplaces very young, and because of the money, I needed the money. Was trying to position into, I thought eventually a career, but decided no, I don't want this, because it wasn't up my alley. But that's where the money was in corporate cubicle fucking offices. So I had to learn to accommodate and learn their games of working in those environments. Had I had the opportunity to work remote, I wouldn't have suffered as much as a single parent. That's for sure. I would have had a lot more resources at my disposal with having a child at home. I know that this would benefit many, many people economically. Do I think daycare centers are great? Fuck no. I think they're
Mm-mm.
I think they're a pain in the ass. For all the money I spent over the years on daycare, I could have saved that money had I been working remotely. And also, I would have felt a lot more involved in my child's life. So those are benefits to me that outrank any position that they could offer me money to go into a physical building, go through, like you were saying, the drive into work for an hour, the commutes, which could, a 30-minute drive can take an hour to an hour and a
Mm-hmm.
half, depending on where the hell and what time your start time ends or begins.
Yep.
And in the end, you're spending more time at your just getting to and from work than you are with your own children, unless, of course, the state likes to, what's the word, raise your children for you, which
Yeah.
is part of the reason too. There's some fighting back on this, I think. Um,
Yeah.
Make no mistake. There's my tinfoil hat for the moment, but that's the way I see, what things were like before versus the way that things have started to change in this direction. And the corporations can do whatever they want, but in the end, they're going to lose their respectability, their accountability, and in the end, their respect of any employee to use their product or service if they are using these excuses. Well, we just want everyone back. Isn't it going to be great? And people who are middle managers are absolutely useless. There's very few of them that are, in my opinion, worth a grain of salt. They are useless. Pawns by upper management to control the minions. And they know their jobs are always at stake. So they want everybody back in, and they're going to repeat and regurgitate anything the upper management wants to place. But the truth is, they're not needed. And I've always agreed. I agree. That's why I agree with Jack there in that article. I completely agree. I think that they're kind of like useless eaters of time
Yep.
and wasted resources. A lot of them don't even know how to do the jobs that they're supposed to support. There, I said it.
Exactly.
You know that's
y-
true, Rich. Fucking know it. We all had some. I've had more than a handful of managers and quote team leads, mostly managers, like the lower tier managers, that were absolutely useless. They didn't even know how to do the job because they've been in that stupid position in that little nest egg of a job for way too long. And they didn't even know how to talk to people, much less their fellow employees, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. A lot of it, go through that buddy system, get hired
Hmm.
on by a buddy or whatever with no prior experience, and they leap over someone who's been working hard, busting their butt. Had
Bingo.
so yeah, you deal with that all the time. Now I wanted to share this real quick because it
Yes.
was it's basically a list of what you can't get right now, according to this article in CNN.
Sure.
We've gone over some of the stuff right now. The first one is cars.
Yep.
Going, we're going on with the part shortage and everything, and the prices going up. Coffee, of course, you already talked about that. Got to
Hmm.
have our coffee. We're coffee lovers. Computer chips, you also talked about that.
Yep.
Shortage of that as well. Jet fuel.
Yeah. That's a big one.
Yeah. So jet fuel. Nike shoes. Now this one hurts, especially if there's a lot of
Yeah. We were just
sneakerheads
talking
out there.
prior to starting about shoes, so
Now,
yes.
now, first and foremost, these shoes, no, I wouldn't rock these. But in
Ha.
general,
Hmm.
yeah, if I now I know that for the girls when I was shoe shopping for them, there's certain shoes that was out of stock. They didn't know, like if I went on Finish Line, if I went on Foot Locker or whatever. But I was able to find them at other places too. So I don't know if it's that. I guess it really just depends on the type of shoes. Maybe these are out of stock or something. But so far, like a lot of the shoes I've seen, they still got them. Maybe certain sizes they'll be out for a while, but I don't think it's really. And plus, you have so many people that are reselling shoes right now that are shoe
Hmm.
collectors. I don't think it's really going to be that impactful,
Yeah.
when it comes to, especially when it comes to the shoes that are in fashion and stuff. These things right here aren't in fashion, so maybe it's these that are, you know
Right.
they're
I
short on,
enjoy
no, yeah, but
I
I don't think.
enjoy immensely. What else is on their list? Is it
um
Nike, school
yeah, well,
supplies?
yeah, right now it's saying Nike. I don't think it's showing anything else, any other shoe companies that are being affected right now besides Nike. But yeah,
Okay.
so school supplies. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, that
It's
is
paper
true.
goods.
Back to school shopping is always a nightmare. Ain't that the truth? I didn't have no issues this year, but for me, I like to get their stuff ahead of time.
Yeah, see, yeah. We're
So
more proactive.
yeah, yeah. So for me,
I'm
when it came to school supplies, I didn't really have no issues.
I'm interested in the CNN list quite a bit. So Taco Bell, yeah, I've heard all about Taco Bell shortages. With their, I mean,
Yeah,
like
there's
either
certain things on the menu
chalupas
that
or
they're just out.
noodles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you'll pull up to the menu and be like, no, we ain't got it
sodas.
right
So this is their look. There you go. There's your fucking list. That's
now.
CNN's reactive commentary, which this is old news.
Yeah,
This is so old. This is from July. The
yeah,
articles that we've referenced, I've been all over the place, obviously, but we knew about the shortages coming, well, since last year and then going into
hmm,
February. And as we poured into this year, there's just it, okay, update here, update there. But they're not mentioning as far as the shoe shortages, Nike is, primarily created in Asia.
yeah,
So anything that's made in Asia, you're pretty, guaranteed with all the closure of all their ports and things like that. You're going to see these holes. One of the things somebody brought up is lumber has been in a shortage now for more than a year. Um,
hmm,
that's for just regular, whether it's building. Also for there's been shortages being reported. And this is all on forums and talking to actual people who work in those fields on different, whether it's subreddits, actual postings on forums on different websites and also on Facebook and just social media in general, talking to one another, which is very helpful. The shortages that have been reported are auto glass, auto parts, a lot of like bizarre delays on those things. Something that, and furniture, that's a big one. Generally, in furniture is taking months in some cases to get in stock at all.
Yeah.
Furniture like couches. I know when we were looking at couches, God, I don't know, before the beginning, I want to say in spring, they had delays on it by months. I think 2 months was a delay on just getting a couch that was produced here in the United States or even in Mexico, because there are shortages were being experienced there in Mexico as well.
Yeah.
The other shortages are like with AC, HVAC, engineering type equipment. Obviously, we've already kind of touched on that with the computer chips, but it's affecting different facets of the industry. But one of them is, somebody who works with electrical nodes was posted something on Reddit regarding shortages he was seeing within his work. And I was like, oh, that makes sense, because he was saying just to get replacements. So, like, if you have an electrical outage, like, let's say somebody hits, because that's what people do. It's the magic of being an American or anywhere else in the world. Is somebody gets drunk and hits, like, let's say, a transformer or a node in front of your house. They have to come out and replace those, and a lot of those parts are now on very long back order with ETAs that are not very, I don't know, clarified, meaning they don't really have a window open. They'll say, oh, it's going to be 60 days. Maybe it'll be 90 days. Maybe it won't even be until the spring. And, I follow different boards and different groups and just listen to see what people are experiencing. A lot of empty shelves are starting to show up in, like, whether it's Walmart, Family Dollar, Dollar General, local grocery stores, like Publix, if you're in the East Coast areas, or Piggly Wiggly Midwest down into the South. HEB here in Texas, they're all expecting different shortages of different things. Chicken is obviously one of the big ones, and the exponential cost of chicken has gone up. So that's something people are noticing. Things that were maybe, $12 6 months ago are now double the price, if not 3 times the price, on availability for the same bag of chicken. If you're doing frozen bags of chicken or whatever, the Gatorade shortages are definitely something. Perrier, like bottled waters, sodas, there's shortages with their supplies at, what is it, like gas stations, like for cups and straws and tops, maybe even like plastic containers. A lot of those things are on delay. Plastics in general are on a definite shortage. So it's watching those things, just keeping an eye on them, because it does reflect on the bigger picture. One of the things I ran across, and I've seen this now 3 times in the last week from different parents that I know, and also from two different parents I know, and then 2 people on forums, different forums, posting the same notices from their schools. I don't want to show any of those, but that there's going to be food shortages at the actual schools, because the distribution from the government for, like, let's say like their meal programs and food distribution for cafeterias is they're expecting food shortages, period. So right now a lot of the schools are working off of warehouses for their food supplies and distribution for school lunches or breakfasts and things like that. Have you heard anything about that in your area?
You as far as the programs?
Yeah, any kind of shortages regarding food lunches or school lunches?
Um, so far, no.
That's good.
Yeah, I plus, like, my girls don't like the school lunch anyway.
Right. So they're
So
like, no harm, no foul, Dad.
yeah, so they'll either DoorDash something, or they just won't eat lunch at their school, or make me go up there and bring them something. But no, I have not from my daughter's school. I don't know how it is for but I haven't really heard. I know there's certain schools,
Hmm.
um, in probably different counties, I believe, that experiencing that, but not a lot of schools out here, not yet, at least.
Yeah. A lot of ones I've heard about have either been Midwest, or East Coast. So because this has just been within like the last, I would say, week, there's always a delay. So, from East to West Coast. So that means within a month. Usually
Yeah.
a month is when things kind of trickle through the country. So it might take a couple of weeks. It might take a full month really to affect the West Coast. But I think that that's what's going to occur because it does that with trends. It does that with pretty much anything when there's shortages or other stuff going on. But an article I wanted to bring up really, really quick because I thought it was very interesting related to
I think
schools
that
because we do have school-age
police
kids.
kind of let them
This
fight
is
with
from The
each
Hill.
other
It says at least
because they kind of
1,000
don't want
U.S.
to put up
schools
with the
have
trouble
closed
because it's
due
been
to
happening for
COVID
so
since
long within
late
Portland.
July.
And there's
This
also the
was written
reality that I
on
think
September
that when you
5th,
arrest
written
people in
by
Portland
Joseph Chow.
for these sorts of
Chow?
things,
I
a lot
apologize
of
if
times the
I
charges
spelled
don't really stick.
My
The DA kind of
apologies.
like goes easier for them, except in
May
more
my
extreme
ignorant
cases like
Americanness not spread. So, at least 1,000 schools across 31 states have closed down due to COVID-19 since classes began to resume in late July, the Wall Street Journal reported Sunday, citing data service Burbio. The news outlet noted that it's difficult to tell how badly schools have been affected by the pandemic due to variations in reporting. Aaron Baker is a 12th grade government teacher in Oklahoma, told the Journal that his school is struggling to find enough staff members while many students are missing class due to infection or exposure. Baker, who is fully vaccinated against COVID-19, tested positive for the virus after only 1 week of teaching fully in position. That's all it took was 5 days, said Baker, who has since returned to teaching in person. A Texas school district temporarily closed down all of its campuses after 2 teachers died in the same week from COVID-19. Due to a continued increase in COVID-19 cases and an increase in absences of staff and students, we have made the decision to close all Colony ISD campuses through Monday, September 6th, the Colony Independent School District said in a letter to parents last week. The majority of parents in the U.S. no longer want their children to be attending school full time, according to a survey released by the National Parent Teacher Association last week. The CDC funded survey found that 43% of parents wanted their children in a classroom full time. According to Burbio's data, a review of 200 the largest school districts in the U.S. found that over 70% were requiring masks. The use of mask mandates in schools have become a heavily contested issue, with numerous Republican governors moving to ban mask mandates outright. Last month, of course, Biden criticized such governors, accusing them of setting a dangerous tone, and his administration is investigating whether mask mandates violates the civil rights of students with disabilities. This isn't about politics, it's about keeping our children safe. It's about taking on the virus together united. I've made it clear that I'll stand with those trying to do the right thing. Okay. Yeah, let's not politicize it as we've politicized it from the beginning. But anyway, I thought that was very interesting. And I think that those numbers are going to triple, if not quadruple, by, I don't know, the winter. So, I don't know.
Yeah. And that's a very sticky situation. The whole situation with the schools closing and everything, it's understandably, um, or it's understandable why they're doing it for certain areas. But
Right.
it, like you think about what it does mentally for kids, especially kids that were anxious to go back to school, to be around their friends, to who and I know certain kids, they love the online school, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and and, and there's kids that just couldn't
Hate it.
like, yeah, like my girls, for example, they at first they thought, oh yeah, online school is going to be awesome, don't have to go in, and then after what, they're like, dad, no, I don't care, I want to go back to school. So I just think about the mental stress it causes on kids, the back and forth. And also the same thing with businesses too. Like we've said before, since last year, there's been a lot of businesses that's failed, or a lot of
Oh,
people who've
absolutely.
lost a lot, their businesses or whatever because of this. So it's just a big, huge thing going on. But I I know here in Arizona, a lot of schools probably ain't gonna shut down because they're gonna lose out on money.
Yep. That's the big one is the money. Mm-hmm.
If people don't know, Governor Ducey a few weeks back basically was saying that, if, whatever schools are not mandating masks or whatever, then they'll get extra money, they'll get extra funding, or um, however he was saying it basically. So,
Right.
and I forgot, it's a difference from, I forgot how much schools were getting if they were mandating it compared to schools that weren't.
Yeah.
So a lot of schools are in a situation where it's like, man, we need that funding, especially if it's school that really needs the funding. You know, um, I think so far, the schools the girls go to, all the girls go to, um, they haven't had those situation where they had to go back home, and there was talk about them going back home. Um, I know for um, like Nina's youngest, the only reason why they had to do online school last week was because there was a storm. We're getting through the end of monsoon, but there was a big storm that happened that caused a fire
Oh
at
wow.
one of the buildings. So they had to, work do online school while they fixed that. But now last week she started going back. You see what I'm saying? So that
Right.
was like the only thing that went down as far as one of them have to, go back to online school. But since last week, she's been back at school. Um, and as far as like Tati and Ari, no, they haven't. There, and actually, I think Ariana's getting ready to go on a field trip here soon, like next week or something.
I'm gonna be honest
So
with you.
yeah, yeah.
I want to make a hypothesis. I'm
Mhm.
just going to make a squirrel hypothesis based on temperature, meaning taking the
Mhm.
temperature, generally speaking, of where we're at right now. I would say that we're going to see a lot of backpedaling
Mhm.
with schools. I think we're going to see it in corporations. I think they're rushing to get their funding in,
Mhm.
and then they're going to have to backpedal like a motherfucker when
Yeah.
things start to fall apart, which is what I believe is coming. And I do sense that. Like I don't believe for a minute that this is going to this is it and everything's going to go back to normal or any new
Mhm.
normal or whatever the hell they want to call it. I think
Mhm.
that they are still figuring out what that new normal is going to look like. I still
Mhm.
think that we're too early in this. As much as people will say, well, we've done this for a year. I'm like, you need to look up how long a pandemic lasts.
Mhm.
Okay. So we're still in the early stages of this. So what I believe is there's going to be backpedaling. I would expect to see big fucking backpedaling happen. I would say in the winter for sure. Um, we were in the hottest months of the year, and COVID was spreading like wildfire. Winter is now approaching,
Mhm.
and I believe that everything that I've been told and things that I've been led to believe is that winter is going to be a hell of a ride. And it's economically, it's within the schools, it's within the corporations. People are trying to rush this on a
Mhm.
schedule together, meaning I don't know if Biden's committees and CDC got with these corporations and said, well, economically, we all have to be on the same page to keep everything open because we can't do X, Y, and Z. So you need to do the X, Y, and Z following. So that way you can reopen fully in the spring, but don't tell them this and don't tell them that because they
Mhm.
don't know what it's going to look like. And the truth is like my hypothesis is that winter's going to suck so bad that there's going to be a lot of people eating crow. That's my hypothesis. Meaning all the shit that they're saying right now of okay, well let's just open everything up, it'll be fine. Yeah, 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 it'll be fine. Just put masks on everyone. Everyone will be vaccinated. No one will give each other when everyone's vaccinated, no one will give each other the plague and then it's out of our hands. You know, the point is that we're already starting to see that and we're still in the early stages, you know.
Mhm.
So what do I see? I don't see good things. I think it's going to get a hell of a lot rougher before it gets better, and I think it's going to take a lot of maturity to get there. And I think that includes what the fuck our government's doing and not doing. I mean, Trump was fucking stupid with his bullshit,
Mhm.
with how he was handling COVID, how he was referring to it, and how he was saying one thing and doing another, just like Biden, just like the rest of them. And everyone
Yeah.
knows me. I don't like any politician. I think
Yeah.
they're all equally
Screw
full
them
of
all.
shit.
That's
Yeah,
how I am. Same
fuck them all,
thing.
man.
Yeah.
So how I look at it is this: they're all act like assholes. They're all salesmen. So you got to get rid of
Hmm.
for the sales pitch. They're not selling me no Avon, you know. So fuck them, you
Speaking
know.
of Avon, I seen a Avon lady
Oh shit.
pulling out of the grocery store. She had her website. They got website. I know
Yeah.
it's a type, but it's not door to door no more.
No.
They'll have their website on the back of their window and their phone number
Yep. And it's
for the
awesome. I've done it that I've bought Avon from people that way
yeah.
before. It's great, man. You can have your candle parties. Nobody's
My
needed.
my mom did it
Man.
for a short period of time.
Yep.
She was an Avon lady.
My mom was too. Hell yeah. I remember growing up with that. It was like Christmas. All I got was like, like soaps and shit. And I was like, what?
I'm like, I don't want this.
Oh, but it's in the shape of a cat. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I honestly didn't know Avon was still like doing their thing until I seen that lady. I was like, wow, they okay.
Hmm.
You still got Avon ladies going around. Okay.
I highly recommend supporting your local Avon lady. You can find them on their website, man. Fuck yeah. Yeah, they got their deals. I like supporting
Yeah.
that shit. It's I know a lot of people that did that for like Mary Kay. I'm not a big Mary Kay person or any of that. It's too
Mhm.
they have too much lotion. They get all weird. I'm like, I don't understand why they sell so much fucking lotion. I'm like, calm down.
I just hit up Bath and Body Works usually when they have that big deal where it's like you buy two.
Get 6
Yeah,
free or
I
something.
get the whole set like for the girls and everything. I'll get
Mm-hmm.
the bath wash, the lotion, and the
Bath and
spray.
Body Works for the win.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, they always got deals.
It's like,
Especially they've been having deals recently on their hand soaps. Like
yes,
you could get like what is it like 6 for 20 or something like that.
yeah. I bought a
Yeah,
bunch of
I'll
hand
get yeah.
sanitizer from them, and because they have it at 70% now. Before, like
Hmm.
their hand sanitizer was only at 60. I was like, nope. So then they moved it up to 70%. So like I bought a bunch of them
Yeah,
for like I got like 6 or 7 for $20. Yeah,
yeah,
it was
yeah.
a great sale. I
Just
suggest
load
it.
up on their hand soaps and
Yeah, I love that shit. I
lotions.
love their
Yeah,
deals. You gotta love a deal, man.
they have deals on their candles too at times. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
they have some and their candles. They get they got the big old candles, the 3 wick candles or whatever.
you can burn your house
So
down with that shit or
yeah, you
sanitize.
burn. But yeah, Bath and Body Works. I learned over that's like the go-to spot.
I love Bath and Body Works. I grew up with that because it was like I hate to say it, but it was cheap, but it
Hmm.
wasn't super cheap. But it was like you got nice stuff, right? And
Yeah,
you could get it affordably. That was one place that
you can always go in
mom
there.
loved
Like it
to.
doesn't matter what day of the week or month or whatever. You can always go there. Pretty sure there's going to be some kind of deal.
Yep.
Like anytime you go on there.
And
So.
they got some really great aromatherapy stuff, like sleep
Hmm.
stuff and oh
Yeah,
yeah,
they got the
like
stuff for the house, like the little plug-ins into the for
yeah,
the house. Yeah, they got all that there. Hand sanitizer and yeah.
like it's I like stuff like that. It's just I'm not a Karen, dude. I don't lose my shit if they don't have a cent. I just go, what else do they have? You know what I'm saying? Like I don't.
Nah, there are people like that. They should know when them sales go down, people
Mm,
are lined up. And
exactly. Like
if you late to the party, that's on you.
here's the thing, man. If you can't get that scented whatever the fruit crap you
Hmm.
want, that's on you.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear
They-
about it in a line.
yeah, if you shop at Bath and Body Works long enough, you should know like when sales go down,
It's real.
yeah, you gotta be ready.
I buy a lot of stuff online if I can't get it in store.
They
Because
got
last
they still
Christmas.
yeah, you go on their website, they got a lot of yeah, you can still get
Oh
a lot
yeah,
of
because they have a lot of
yeah.
the retired smells and stuff on there.
Hmm.
Like,
And
that's stuff
now
I
they
look
they
for.
do it now where you could do it you go to it online and pick it up at the store now.
Yes, I
Yeah.
love that. I've been able to do
Hmm.
that a few times, especially with like I was trying to get a set for my sister-in-law for Christmas last year, and they had it in the store. I was like, thank God.
Hmm.
Because we were mailing stuff that way because we had a bunch of like what we did when we sent the package to you. We just threw
Yeah.
everything in one box and did it that way. But it was just easier to get stuff out. I don't know, but yeah, I love I've always been an online shopper, so like it's just easier because, like, I'll be honest with you, walking through a
Especially this
store,
day and age.
Fuck yes. And you go into like
Yeah.
any store, like I like walking through a Target just because I got a problem, but I like walking through
Target.
Target.
Yeah, I'm big Target. I love Target.
Damn. I
Nina
like
can't
their,
stand it.
oh
She
my
like
God.
Nina likes Ratchet Walmart.
Oh, God.
Hi,
No.
Nina. Are you listening to me, Nina? No, all right, don't you ain't gotta yell at me. Anyway,
But
yeah.
yeah, but it's really quick before we start wrapping up. I know we've hit our mark here of hours, but
Mm,
there was a couple things. The biggest thing, because we are touching on that here right now when we're talking about Bath and Body and being able to access stuff. But one of the big things is Christmas is coming, and
man.
it's one of those things that the retailers are discussing. They've been discussing this. This is an article from July 2nd. I heard about this back in June and even going a little further back, but I'd say June was when I first heard about this. But this is an article from Zero Hedge. It says it's too late to save Christmas. Retailers are bracing for an unprecedented shortages of everything, with global container shipping rates hitting never before seen levels in a historic global scramble to secure good and inventory. Suppliers to Walmart, Target, Amazon.com, and other major retailers told Reuters they are placing holiday orders for Chinese made merchandise weeks much earlier this year, as a global shipping backlog threatens to leave many gift buyers empty handed this Christmas shopping season. Reuters surveyed nearly a dozen suppliers and retailers of everything from toys to computer equipment in the United States and Europe. All expect week-long delays in holiday inventory due to shipping bottlenecks, including a global container shortage and the recent COVID-related closure of southern Chinese port of, not even going to pronounce that, I apologize to the Chinese people for that, which serves manufacturers near Shenzhen. So the risk for retailers is a rash out of stock items just as shoppers are ready to open their wallets to splurge on toys, clothing, and other merchandise. It's going to be a major mess, says Isaac Larin, which is the chief executive Los Angeles based MGA Entertainment, etc., which sells LOL Surprise, Bratz, Little Tykes, and other toy brands to Amazon, Walmart, Target. His company has toys stuck in hundreds of containers at the that particular Asian port that I can't
Is
pronounce.
it Yanshin?
Yeah,
We'll go with that.
that sounds good. If he can't get enough inventory for his retail clients, it's going to hurt the Christmas sales big time, Laren said. So the shipping logams are due to more than just the backlog in, can't pronounce that again.
Yanshin.
There we go. Which is considered Amazon's #1 Chinese seaport, accounting for 32.4% of shipments handled by the e-commerce company in the 3 months to May 31st, according to the S&P Global Market Intelligence trade data from Panjiva. Sure,
Panjiva? Yeah, yeah.
Panjiva. So anyway, this just goes on to discuss how it's going to affect Christmas. It is a huge deal. It's not just going to affect us here in the United States, but obviously the UK too. Our cousins
Hmm.
are going to get hit pretty hard over there. And they already are. They're starting to see different things that they're having to be concerned about, like gas shortages because of Russia, suppliers, and things like that. But this is an article from Tesco in Iceland. The bosses warn over Christmas supplies. This is from August 25th. The boss of Supermarket Iceland says the supply chain chaos is getting worse just as retailers started planning for the key Christmas period. Richard Walker told the BBC he estimated the UK shortage of lorry drivers was now just about 100,000, with the company itself about 100 short. Tesco's boss, John Allen, said there may be shortages, but people should not over dramatize and panic buy. Now, they always say that. So the truth
Yeah.
is, there's going to be at least, he says, a modest crisis. I would say it depends on where you live and what you're looking at. That's all.
I guess that's a benefit of having older kids, like in their teens now, where their stuff is not, you ain't got to really worry about. Well, I guess in a sense, their electronics or girly stuff, Bath and
Right.
Body Works stuff and clothes. Um, yeah, so I think it's a little bit different compared to when you get a whole bunch of toys and all that. So I mean, it's definitely going to be an interesting Christmas, nevertheless.
Yeah. This is just a screenshot. Somebody took photographs of a local newspaper up in the from Washington Post, though. It was an article from that. discussing how the Delta Grinch is stealing Christmas. Okay, whatever. But one of the quotes in the article is, "We're telling customers September is the new December. If you see something that's important to you, buy it now." This is from Beth Wagner, a general manager of the Phoenix Books in Vermont. And this is not just about books; it's about everything. So it's about toys, it's about electronics. It's a big tree, and including clothing. Anything that
Hmm.
is something that can be sourced in China
Yeah.
or any Asian market at this point, because even Brazil is facing some issues of their own because they're a big meat supplier to the United States and China, and they have had to basically reduce their exports of meats due to a mad cow outbreak. So that's something else that's currently going on. So meat production is something we've already kind of touched on, but it's another type of export import shortage issue. And storage container shortages were another big weird thing that was going
Yeah.
on. Um, but it's Christmas. I mean, even though we have older kids, we're looking at electronics or pricier items. So it's kind of like being proactive is the biggest point of prepping. It's not about reaction, it's about being proactive and not being frightened by any of this, but taking it with, okay, I'm going to take a note and account of this. What does my family need? What is going to benefit my family or help us through harder financial times? Because the inflation is definitely here and it's not going to go away. It's probably going to increase. I don't know. I mean, depends. And you're going to see a reduction in sizes of containers. We There's a video that'll be posted in the description box from Canadian Prepper, who's it gives a very good breakdown and explanation of inflation and how
Hmm.
it's affecting products, whether it's prepping gear, or just let's say stuff that has a good long shelf life. He
Hmm.
discusses this, but it affects other products like you and I would use on a daily basis, for example, like laundry detergent, dish detergent, cleaning products, toilet
Right.
paper products, things like that. Those are things that we'll notice those shortages in, if not changes to the volume that we're receiving for the price, which is very notable at dollar stores already. This has been going on since, I don't know, I want to say the beginning of the year, is the changes of quantity for the price. Whereas before, let's say you could get a pretty damn good size of hand sanitizer for $1 or even $1.99. Now you're looking at spending around $2.99 for a size that was regularly $1,
Yeah.
before. So it's
Yeah.
kind of ridiculous. Um, the gouging on prices was definitely there. They could say it was due to lack of availability. That's fine. You can say whatever you want. You're a company making money. In the end, you're in for profit and making exponential profit depending on your stockholders and whatever else. So I don't know. I think it's just being proactive. But in the description of this video, you'll find a section called references, and you'll have all of the links to everything. And there'll be like video and resources. Those are little subtext within it. So resources you'll find in that area, places to check for shortages on Reddit, food shortage watch groups that are on Facebook. Also, people that can give you information regarding the stimulus packages and different types of economical things for relief, whether it's for rent or food assistance or daycare assistance or God knows what else is coming down the pipeline, but anything in that arena. Stephen Gardner is in there, and I like the way that he presents his information, and you know that you're getting reputable and vetted sources, not just somebody clickbaiting your ass for YouTube, if you know what I mean. Also, in the same resource section, you'll find free survival PDFs and manuals, downloads, things to help you learn how to prep, which, you know, without going full, crazy town, but stuff that will help your family or at least get a perspective as to your family's needs and your own needs. There's also, again, I listed the best prepper websites and also Preppers Survive, which has a ton of resources on that site as well, and people to give you perspective and without fear mongering. It's not about fear. This is more or less just being proactive, not reactive. That's all.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And of course, we're going to continue to monitor, and if some more crazy stuff relating to this goes down, we'll definitely be talking about it. But
Absolutely.
yeah, it's definitely going to be a crazy next few months when it comes to these different shortages. Um, Thanksgiving's around the corner, Christmas is around the corner.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think there's going to be a shortage for Halloween though. So there you go.
Shit. You know what's funny is like a lot of people are saying, well, they're not putting Halloween stuff as early this year because usually in September they start rolling this
Yeah,
shit out,
yeah.
and it's not really on the shelves right away. I mean, Dollar General's showing, yeah, there's some of those stores are stocking up, whereas Walmart's behind, or there's empty, shelving and things like that. But the truth is, who the hell's gonna go trick or treating? I mean, honestly, like in our area, that didn't even happen last year.
I think well, because I know out here they're already promoting the haunted houses that are going to be open
Shit.
for this year.
Are they gonna have like
So
COVID monsters in there and shit? Like little
is
zombies
someone
fucking
dressed up
presidents,
is someone dressed up as a virus? Yeah. Um,
walking around sneezing and shit. Oh my, inappropriate. Oh my.
oh man. Yeah, Fear Farm they've already been promoting.
Mm.
So I'm guessing that the haunted houses are still going to be on and popping this year. I don't know how many are going to be open, but I know so far I've seen a few um,
Right.
are advertising already. Because out here, usually they'll start
In
like
September.
September towards the end, like September 24th or something like that.
Right.
They'll start up opening the haunted houses out here. So we'll see. But yeah, I've seen so far. Now, I definitely agree with you. Trick or treating is probably not going to be really a thing.
They
So
do
if
like trunk
anybody,
or treat or something.
yeah, so if
Yeah.
anybody does anything, it'll probably be like, just to do something just for decorating. If they wanted to like just make their house all spooky or whatever for doing it,
Yeah.
or if
That's
they
what we
do,
did. Yeah.
they'll probably just it'll be more of if someone's posted up outside with it or even if it's just people even that's been going on since we were kids, but some people just have a bowl out there just like look here,
Throw some
don't
Tootsie
knock
Rolls
on the
out.
door, just take whatever,
Yeah.
so
We haven't had any like trick or treating was like a no go last year. I don't know what they're gonna do this year, but we're not trick or treating. Like,
yeah, it'll probably
no,
be very little if
it
anything,
sucks.
so yeah, it really does suck. But yeah, it is just the way of the world right now. But yeah, they definitely got the haunted houses opening up, so I'm pretty sure if they're doing it, they're gonna do whatever they can to make it as
Safe.
as possible. I don't know how you're gonna do that with a haunted house because
Plexiglass and shit walking around
yeah.
like a fucking hamster. Oh, you're in a hamster ball and you go through the
Now if they did like a haunted house, like if they did a Silence of the Lambs version where
oh
they're like
shit.
going through like some kind of mental institution and everybody's in the uh glass prisons, then yeah, you
That's
know
fucking crazy. Yeah,
something like that.
I don't know. It's one of those things. It's like Halloween is one of those tricky holidays when you have a plague going on
Hmm.
because there's still a lot of people that are losing loved ones to it. So it's like you have to be careful what you're going to tap on or not tap on. And here I have not heard of any promotions for haunted houses, which usually we have about three huge ones, and I haven't heard anything about it yet. I'm sure they're going to try something, but they're going to have to rethink their old, like I guess their old, because that's what the Beef did. He worked at a haunted
Hmm.
house on a volunteer basis for, or not, yeah, I did volunteer at a haunted house for a while, just to get experience and shit, but for working generally. Um, but yeah, I mean, he worked in a haunted house for quite a while, and he said it was
Hmm.
all right, and he had fun. Don't get me wrong, but it's a whole different experience. And they closed it down last year. There was just no way. And this year, it's still looking like it's probably going to stay closed.
So far, real quick, I know we're getting ready to close it down, but so far I found three haunted houses that are going to be open. The 13th floor, which is a real popular one.
Hmm.
Fear Farm and this one, I think this is a new one, Mount Mayhem Haunted House.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, so far I found 3 that's opening. Yeah, it looks like they're gonna go all out this year with haunted houses. They're gonna have them open.
They're gonna try. You know, and I'm not trying to shit on them, but it's gonna be weird. It just depends. I mean, some areas COVID's not a big deal at all,
Yeah,
whereas in other
yeah,
places it's definitely a big deal, and it's spreading as one would expect it's going to.
yeah.
And I don't know, we're still very early in the game of
hmm
the winter, and I mean, where we got hit really hard during the summer, the winter was rough for others.
So I'm looking at the safety protocols on one of these haunted houses. So for Mount Mayhem, right? They got the safety protocols for 2021. It says face masks are optional but will be made available. Hand sanitizing will be available before entering or exiting. Normal scaring will return. All of our members are vaccinated.
Okay.
Reservations and walk-ups will be allowed this year. No groups larger than 5 people at a time. Um, so yeah, that's from Mount Mayhem. They're what they're doing. I don't know about the other 2, but yeah, that's um, what
Hmm.
they're doing. I got a waiver for people getting scared. It's just me because I've never been scared in haunted houses, so that stuff doesn't
Right.
bother me. But apparently, some of these are just like you got to sign a waiver. So for Fear Farm, they're um, let's see if they have anything. I don't really see anything for Fear Farm as far as like their
Protocol stuff.
yeah. So just for that one, yeah. So yeah, but it looks like for all these other everything's going back to normal as far as like scaring everybody.
Yep. We'll see. I don't know, man. It all starts out all sunshine and lollipops, and the next thing you know, you got somebody being crazy town.
Yeah, yeah.
You're like,
We'll
why do you
we'll
gotta be
we'll see.
crazy
I
town?
mean, you still it's still a little bit a little under 2 months away, so
Right.
we'll see what happens. But yeah, yeah. It looks like they're okay. So for Fear Farm, they have a waiver saying assumption of risk and waiver of liability relating to COVID-19.
Yep. See.
So you got a waiver to sign saying, hey, you come here,
It's
we'll
at your own
scare
risk.
you. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess they're covering their butts.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. There was a couple haunted houses that tried to stay open last year and they got shut down. And
Yeah.
because they were doing the waiver shit
Yeah.
and it didn't work out in that situation. But and it wasn't I thought it was stupid for them to even try to open it right in the middle of all that. I was like,
Yeah. Last
no,
year should have,
common sense, man.
yeah.
It was too much. And we're still kind of in the middle of it and it's Beef just got off a shift a couple days ago from work and it was brutal. He had a brutal shift and
hmm
mostly COVID. And yes, mostly vaccinated. It didn't matter, people. There's no magic wand. It's going to be a rough ride no matter what.
Yeah. I wasn't laughing at that. I was just laughing at the do's and don'ts at this haunted house. It says don't wear high heels, wedges, or flip flops. Why would you even wear that going to a haunted house? You should know not to do that.
Oh my god.
That shouldn't even be like a thing.
You
Like who
don't.
would wear high heels and wedges?
There's girls that go on dates and they go in there just
Yeah,
tee
they want to
hee,
be all pretty going on dates and break their ankle trying to.
breaking their ass halfway through because some guy in a Jason mask was trying to slaughter them.
Oh man, some people.
So,
Boy, boy, boy.
because they get in there with their heels, tee hee, start running, bitch meet the floor.
Tear up their feet, tear up their ankles running. Like
Stupid.
you scary, but you're gonna wear some high heels, wedges, or flip flops during this, knowing you
I
scary.
wear flip flops, dude, and I can run just fine, but some assholes cannot run in flip
Yeah,
flops, right? And I get that. I completely understand. But high heels,
yeah, you gonna yeah,
you're gonna die. You're gonna hit a
yeah,
wall. They're gonna run into somebody.
real quick too.
Oh yeah.
Face plant
Wear
themselves
some
real quick.
flats. At least wear some flats. you know,
something where you know that.
so
Boy,
your
boy,
ass don't
boy.
die.
And it's probably and there's probably so many people that did it where they had to put that in there. Like, please don't come in here with that mess.
Don't wear
Like, we
stilettos.
shouldn't have to tell you this, but yeah, don't do
Some chick going in there in stilettos.
that. It's just a little.
She's running. Ah!
Oh,
And,
oh man,
my God, dude. Anyway, well, I
yeah.
think we covered a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, prepping. It's it's just being aware of winter and the shortages that are coming. And in the end, it's not about panicking. It's just being proactive for your own family, about your own family's needs, doing the
Mm-hmm.
right thing. And
Right.
also, there's a lot of fuckery going on. A lot of people making, let's say, executive decisions to fill their pockets.
Yeah.
And I do think this will backfire in a very different kind of way than we've seen before.
Mm-hmm.
Some stuff, yes, but I definitely believe it'll backfire in a different kind of way this time because
Right.
there's so much at stake on the table that these are almost, in a sense, placing themselves at risk. And I don't know how that applies, but it's just I was talking to a couple people that do run companies that I know, and they were saying these things, or they're completely against a lot of the decision making that's going on, other that they're seeing around them, but they're not letting it influence. Like you said, there's some good companies out there that are considering and doing remote work that are
Right.
looking at the bottom dollar and seeing the potential for this brand new market, which they're completely taking advantage of, and they're going to win doing this. I
Mm-hmm.
really feel that everything economically is pointing in that direction, regardless of what corporations think. The ones who have invested in real estate and all these other types of things to fill their own pockets, and also thinking that this is the best means of management, are going to be outdated quicker than they believe. They already are.
Right.
So I'm very interested to see how this plays out as we get into spring and next year. But as of for this year, I would say
Mm-hmm.
we're looking down a very foggy winter.
Right.
And yeah.
I
Mhm.
I it's like a catch-22 in this situation. No matter what they choose to do, especially what's going on, if you're a business owner and you feel you need to keep your business going, um there's negatives behind that. you know there's risk behind that, just like if you were to shut down your business during this, if you feel it's the best choice um for you right now. But it if we just go back to the very beginning of how this was handled in the first place, um, it caused a bigger mess than what it should have in the first place, I believe.
Right.
Um, but again, there's always an agenda behind the scene. Have you seen? I know have you seen the the trials they're doing? I think in Colorado right now or whatever, with a digital license.
No, I have not.
Okay, I gotta find that. Supposedly they're doing these trials with the digital license, but it's also going to include all your supposedly health info, credit score, employment, this and that, like all that stuff. Remember we were talking about it beginning of last year before all this stuff happened. We're talking about a digital ID and all of that.
Yes.
And one of our very before the pandemic went into full effect, before there was any craziness, like around January, February, we were talking about that. And um, now they're doing these trials in certain cities and states with digital driver's license.
Hmm. That's interesting. It's
Very
kind of like
interesting.
a real ID. What do you call it?
Yeah,
The real
the
ID,
real ID. Yeah.
where they started with that to where they're
Hmm.
pushing it now, because they're
Yep.
trying to push the passport shit here,
Yep.
and they've been pushing that. Australia is a freaking mess. That's a whole
Oh
nother
man,
topic.
they whoo wee.
But they're definitely. I mean, Australia's on a whole new Orwellian level,
Hmm.
and It's
Yeah, they're not playing down there in Australia. Boy. I really feel for the people in Australia right now with the way they're doing things over there. It's horrible.
yeah, and I don't know. In the end, though, it's like they're trying to push through so many of these different things at one time. It's hard to keep up with here in the States with what they're trying to do. And the legislation that a lot of the states have put into place is barely able to keep it up, to kind of prevent things. And some of them are actually enabling things to
And
happen.
isn't this like the perfect time to do it though? Like
Oh yeah,
if you're trying to push that agenda,
here
it's
we
the
are.
perfect time to do it. While there's all this craziness going on, let's go ahead and slide these. You see what happened after 9/11?
Yep.
The legislations and stuff that was getting pushed through that nobody was paying attention to. It's like the same thing. Let's go ahead and slide this in there. Ain't nobody really going to pay attention to it right now.
Hmm.
And then when it's time to break it out, so it's still very interesting nonetheless.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a mess. It'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see how this plays out.
It's roller
I don't.
coaster ride. Boy.
But anyway, I want to thank you for hanging out and going over all the stuff tonight. It was a lot of stuff. It was just a lot of information collected over the last few months, and just kind of watching stuff. And now we're starting to hear more and more about the shortages because more people. I'm actually getting contacted more privately by people who are not preppers, who are not. They always thought this stuff was bullshit and crazy right wing stuff, which I'm
Hmm.
not. you know, and but they have always assumed that was a right winger thing when it's not. Prepping is something that is not politically based. It is.
No,
It
not
doesn't.
at,
You do not
not at
need to be
all.
left or right to be a prepper. You
Nope.
just need to be proactive. It's about being proactive to protect your family's interests and your, availability to and access to the things that you need. That's all. And being
Hmm.
prepared for emergencies is not something that is political. It is just
Not at
common
all.
sense.
Nope.
So, I've talked to quite a few people. I've just introduced them to different links, and I'm like, omit what you don't need, and then
Hmm.
consider this is a working list or resources that work in your best interest that can help you and your family. And that's how you have to view it. Use a discriminating eye. I hate the fact I have to say that,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
mean, people, you should
common
know.
sense.
The best. I mean, prepping. I look at it like this. Would you rather be waiting till the last minute and in the middle of chaos trying to get things for the house for your family? Whereas if you're a prepper, you're pretty much set for, worst case scenario for the most part. If you're into prepping or you've been prepping, um, that's the whole thing. It's less stress for you and your family. It's being prepared for whatever scenario happens for the most part, and you don't have to deal with that craziness while everybody's panicking, going through all that. They don't know what to do. You did the smart. You made the smart decision of prepping for you and your family, so you don't have to deal with that.
Yes.
So
And that's the
yeah,
truth. It's like,
yeah.
I remember sending out notes to friends and just kind of giving them the heads up and saying, hey, listen, just this is what I'm seeing, this is what I'm reading, heads up. And, more than a few ignored me. A couple of them said, okay, cool, thanks for the info. And I only went to people I knew I could approach. I kept that in mind
Yeah,
because some people would think I was nuts. And I was like, okay. So when COVID
you're
hit, all of a
you're always
sudden,
gonna yeah you're always gonna deal with that no matter what. You could
so
be
when
trying to look out for people and
they don't want to hear it, they
they don't
think
want
you're
to hear it.
nuts. So,
Yeah.
like, this is like, I don't know, February of last year is when I started sending out notes to people on the side, just saying, listen, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I'm reading, and this
Hmm.
is what I've been told directly from individuals that are there that this isn't not good. This isn't what you think it is. Stop listening to CNN. Um,
Hmm.
you know, they weren't telling people the truth. So when you watch mainstream media, this goes back to where we started at the beginning. Always remember it's reactive, not proactive.
Yeah.
And for those people who care, I mean, most people are reactive. So it works great for them because then they can go and empty out the damn grocery stores from toilet paper because the end of the apocalypse is your shit, apparently.
Yeah.
And it's stupid, but here we are, you know. So it's about being proactive. That's all.
Well, you know, and I learned a long time ago, majority of people are not going to listen to reason if it's not from their favorite news channel.
Correct.
That's just how it is. People, we've been programmed for so long to, if it's not on the news, then I don't need to worry about it.
Yeah.
If they didn't say, if they didn't mention it on the news, I don't need to worry about it.
And it's so
Um,
frustrating.
yeah, it can be frustrating, especially if, you know, you're trying to look like, hey, look, I'm telling you, like, be on the lookout. And people are like, well, I didn't hear it on it. They didn't say that. Where are you getting this information from? Like, don't worry about where I'm getting it from. I'm telling you, I'm looking out. Like, hey, you know. So, yeah, it's just about being conditioned for so many years, and you're supposed to. The news is supposed to be a reliable source of information, but when these news stations and stuff is run by these big companies, and you can basically put out whatever you want in the news, it's hard to really rely on uh, these news sources
Right.
when they could just put out whatever. And I think people are programmed to believe if and even if here's the thing, they've made this so political where if you think outside the box, if you research outside of what CNN is saying, what MSN is saying, what Fox News is saying, if you're
Yes.
doing research outside of that, you're going to other sources, people look at you crazy because it's
Correct.
not coming from quote unquote professional sources,
And
you
that's,
know?
you know, and here's the truth is you have to use a discriminating eye on any information that you're given. There are
Yeah.
going to be people who will buy into just about anything because they've read
Hmm.
so much bullshit and
Yeah.
none of it is substantiated, meaning I look at what they're citing, it is not what it claims to be. You know, it's a lot of people misinterpreting the information that's provided to suit whatever imaginary agenda that they believe that they have.
Hmm.
Now, common sense should be utilized anytime you look at any information, including any links, whether they're verified sources or not. It
Hmm.
doesn't matter. I still question everything that comes out of the media, even though I'm
Hmm.
supplying the information to paint a picture or to provide a background of why I feel or believe a certain thing, or uh, to give a broader perspective to what I have been brought. It has been brought to my attention by people who were not quote mainstream media sources. Um,
Hmm.
the point is that do I think it's the end of the world? Hell no, it's not the end of the world. But
Hmm.
what you do have to be aware of is that it's not so much you're going to starve and all this, the end is near kind of shit. You're just not going to be able to get that mocha latte you want, which means you
Yeah.
have to deal with other crazy fuckers who will lose their minds when they can't get the mocha latte they want. That's all, you
Hmm.
know? So it's worrying more about how other people react than it is necessarily like how you and I are going to react. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. No,
Like,
no. I mean, you know, we've been down this road a long time when it comes to this stuff. So we know how to deal with it for the most
mhm.
part. And you know, like I said, we're always in communication when it comes to stuff. Anything interesting, whether it's believable or not, we're always
Right.
sharing it. So,
Yeah.
you know, and it's up to whoever to go through that and say, hey, nah, this is BS, or oh no, you know, actually, make some valid points in this, or this is pretty crazy. This is some crazy information. There's been things I've come across that are totally wrong. There's
Yeah.
things I've come across that's like, oh wow, a lot of validation to this. So, you know, you really have to go through and sort through any information you get, whether it's from mainstream media, whether it's from other news sources. You still have to do your job and go through and do the research and come to a decision after you do your research, whether it's, you know, there's truth to it or not.
Mhm.
You know, um, So that's really what it all boils down to. And when it comes to this, when we do these episodes, when it comes to prepping and stuff, it's we're just trying to look out for everybody, because we see this stuff. This food shortage is real. The shortages are real. So and it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. So
And
I'd
it's
rather. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
exact. No, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying I'd rather people be prepared this time. A lot of people got blindsided last year and they weren't ready. And and no one, I know for one, I didn't expect everybody to be fighting over toilet paper. I didn't think that was going to be like the main thing people were fighting over.
I was like,
And
what?
it happened to be, yeah. Got to make sure to wipe your butt.
Dude,
But
out of all the things, right? And it
yeah,
was
out of
all
all the
started,
things,
the panic started at the time, the panic had started over a rumor. And
yeah.
then it just spread. And I was like, because we always, we're pretty meticulous about prepping. So that wasn't an issue at all. So
Hmm.
I was like, we went to the store. I did go by the aisle because I wanted to see the curiosity kills the cat every time.
Yeah.
And they had restrictions on how much toilet paper people could
Yep.
buy and things like that. But it was hilarious because the panic that had ensued. Like, there is going to be shortages on paper products and
Hmm.
different things like that. Those pieces of information are not going to be leaked to the public very easily because they don't want to stir panic, and that's why you have distributors in the same sentence saying there's going to be shortages on toys, but don't worry, it's fine. So
Yeah.
this could all be a ruse just to get the money to boost
Exactly.
those sales. But the truth is, we are seeing big. What's the word? Do you think this is the other thing I was going to ask before we end this? Uh, do you think that even when they quote get all the stuff in stock, that those prices are going to magically reduce to accommodate? Hey, we have it in stock now, and we don't have as less items. No, the prices are going to stay
Mm-mm.
the same. I think.
Yeah. And there's going to be people that are going to, just like last year, there's going to be people that are going to take advantage of that.
Hmm.
And you're going to people that are going to buy up certain, in demand items in bulk
Right.
and turn around and flip it. So no, it ain't, it's going to be a while before, prices get back to normal.
Absolutely.
Um, and it's unfortunate that people use times like these to go ahead and make a quick buck, but we seen what happened last year. you know, when
Yep.
it came to certain items and people buy them in bulk and turn around and flip them, it's going to happen again. People are going to be like, "Yep, yeah, I got what you need. Yeah, it's going to be this much though." But yeah, I mean, even something as simple as like when the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X came out, they people hurried up and snatched it up and turned around and flipped it. Like you heard stories about people having bots and stuff making their orders for them and all of that so they can buy all these game systems and they'll turn around and go on eBay, go on StockX or whatever and sell them for ridiculous prices. There are people that were selling like I'd seen when they were selling PlayStation for like $10,000.
Hmm.
So, and the same thing with when the pandemic first hit, when people were buying up all the cleaning supplies and toilet paper and all that, turning
Right.
around and flipping them for crazy amounts. So they're gonna do it again.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah. So we'd rather people just get a head start now, do it now, prep
And
now, get it all good to go, so you ain't got to worry about it.
yeah. And think ahead on, certain things like making sure your heating and cooling systems in the house are maintained, right?
Hmm.
Just having
Right.
it checked up, make sure you don't need anything replaced instead of being reactionary. Because we've all had those moments where the AC doesn't work or the heater stops working.
Right.
You know, make sure that those things are maintenance, you know,
Yeah.
ahead of time. So that way, if you do need to request a replacement part, make sure your cars are as expensive as a car is. The point is to
Yeah.
keep them a maintenance. And we just had some stuff replaced on it because we could, so we did
Hmm.
because we needed
Yeah.
it proactively. And whether it's changing out an oil pan or you need to put a muffler on your vehicle, go ahead and do that and
Hmm.
get it done. Don't
Yeah.
put it off unless it's because sometimes it could become a bigger issue. So it's just being proactive about those little things. They could be more expensive, but also just keeping an eye on your electronics and make sure they're maintained and not
Yeah.
just. I know so many people that like the way that they use electronics, whether it's a laptop or a computer, is like fast food.
Mm-hmm.
They're always replacing them out because they do not maintenance them properly.
Right.
Because I mean, the truth is, I push all my electronics out as far as I can because that's what I'm accustomed to. And they're not outdated or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I push out the usage and I
That's how
update.
I am about phones. Like,
Yes. Hmm.
you have people that'll switch every year. A new phone comes out, they're getting it again. Like, you know, I'm not, ain't got that kind of money to just be getting a
Right.
brand new phone like that every year to just be doing. Like, it doesn't make sense to me to do that.
It's
Um,
expensive too.
yeah, it can get real expensive. And where the phone is good, I mean, I know phones have a certain shelf life. Um, but like my phone is had it for 2 years now,
Right.
2 or 3
Yeah.
going on 3. So, there's no need to run and get a the latest and greatest cell phone every single year.
Yeah. Because there's some. I mean, the truth is like it's just money hole, money pit when it comes to
Yeah,
the way the electronics are, especially phones. I
yeah,
don't. I have an old ass phone. I need a new phone. I know that I do.
hmm
I'm picky. I don't want to deal with shit. Like I don't want to deal with like a $600 phone that's just going to take a shit in a year. So
hmm
I've been very like careful about what phone I'm going to get and all this other shit because I don't want to deal with bull crap, dude. I just want a phone that works.
these phones now is like price of rent at some places. I'm like, you
No
gotta
joke.
be kidding me.
And
Go in
it's
and look at the newest Galaxy, and you'll be like,
yes.
the heck is this? I'm not spending that.
Dude, it's ridiculous. And
Yeah,
it's in the end, it's finding the products that work best for you and not, I guess disposable technology is just such a waste. They bitch and bitch about global warming and climate change. Well, then why the hell are you making such shitty products, electronics that don't biodegrade? And
exactly.
recycling some of these are nearly impossible depending on what materials you're using. Now they'll
Right.
say, well, we're doing this to change that and that. You know what? Shut up. In the end, you could be doing that now.
Exactly.
You could be making products that are better quality, that have a longer shelf life, but you're in it about the money. It's
It's
always
all
about
about
the
the
money.
money. Always. Yeah, they could have made this. It could have been so. Yeah, yeah. It makes me go back to think about Captain Planet. Like,
Yeah,
you could have did this if you really wanted to. You could have really made changes a long time ago. So,
absolutely.
it's just excuse after excuse when it comes to that.
It could have changed a lot of stuff, and it's like
Oh
they
yeah.
just don't want to. In the end, they're just like, you
Yeah.
know, how much money can we make?
Yeah. What's in it for them? Not about the betterment of the earth, but what's in it for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they just don't care. But anyway, but thank you to everybody that hung out and listened to this long ass uh, podcast today. But there was a lot of
Yeah.
stuff to cover, and there was a lot of news that was going on, and all stuff that kind of tied together. There's still obviously a lot of stuff out there that's not we didn't connect or interconnect it to. I've gotten people who uh, find stuff on the internet and they flip out over it, and I'm like, yeah, but you can't really share that information publicly because, well, number one, they're just going to think you're nuts anyway. So
Yeah.
unless there's a certain amount of information out there about things that you share, you can't really share it comfortably
No, you can't.
without, without uh, being called all types of things that are
And
not who
it's
you are.
unfortunate. It's unfortunate when people be quick to judge you for what you post if it's some interesting information. Oh, you're crazy, and you hear that. So
Even if it's
it's
a
a tough life.
mainstream media article
Yeah.
and you make a comment about it, they'll be like, "Oh, that's just fear mongering shit," and you're like,
Yeah.
"All right, why don't you go get more toilet paper in case there's an apocalypse?" Like calm down. I'm not trying
Yeah.
to stir shit. I'm just trying to be forewarning, and a lot of this is just forewarning. You know, this too shall pass, that kind of thing. But being a prepper, there's no shame in that at
Nope.
all.
Not at all. Not at all.
Anyway, thanks to everyone that came. Really, really appreciate it. And Rich, did you want to plug some stuff?
Nope. Not just playing.
Ah, you're like nothing at all.
And it's because I actually didn't do nothing this weekend. I didn't stream or anything.
That's because the
So,
teens got you. That's why.
oh man, yeah. I tell you, I get outnumbered in this house. I get
Mm-hmm.
jumped and everything. And
Rich is surrounded.
Nina don't do nothing. She just lets me get beat up. Right, Nina? All right. So anyway, like I was saying, yeah, no, but UND Gamer Die, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, what's that other thing? Oh yeah, YouTube.
YouTube,
Yeah,
Facebook.
YouTube. Yay. All that. Girls still cooking up stuff, putting stuff together, but fantastic melanated Blerds, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram,
Yep. You can find
Twitter,
all the
all that
links
good
in
stuff.
the description for Rich's stuff and also for the girls. Their link tree is in there, and hopefully Rich will get a link tree as well. So
I keep forgetting I need to step my game up. But
it'll
I
be
will
so much
say,
easier too to keep them
yeah,
all together.
I need to do that. But I will say this, I will be doing a real soon. I don't know if it'll be this week or weekend, but I will be doing a Hitman marathon. So I'll be streaming the Hitman marathon. Hitman 1, 2, and 3. So yeah. So be
Cool.
on the lookout for that. But not on Sunday. That's football Sunday. So there will be no streaming at all on Sunday. At all.
Absolutely. Sunday is going to be one of those days. I already know it's going to be that way in this house
The
too.
college
I'm like,
squirrel gonna be cussing out the TV and
yep,
everything.
yep, exactly.
Yep.
But
Well, yeah.
for all the links, citations, everything we discussed in this video, you can find in our description box. They're all cited there for you to read and review. I know I didn't fully read quite a few of those articles. I wanted to summarize them so we could kind of go through it and get the information provided. But really appreciate everyone being here
Yeah.
and check out all of our links and subscribe, like the video, dislike it, whatever you want.
Nah, don't dislike it. Just hit the like button. Pretend the
Hit the
thumbs
like
down
button.
button is not there.
I'm not good at pimping my channel, man. Or any videos. Like in the end, just thank you for hanging out. Always appreciated. And I guess we will see
Mm.
everybody next week.
Yeah. Till then, everybody have a good week. Don't let no negativity mess up your week, and we'll be back with another awesome, pretty cool episode.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.